For Stuart Friesen, that could have been disaster considering his position in the playoffs.
The pressure is definitely building because when it comes to NASCAR, it doesn't get bigger than Talladega. Add in the aspect of elimination, and you've got one huge event. Welcome to NASCAR Race Day for the Camping World Truck Series. And welcome into our Charlotte studio. I'm John Roberts alongside of championship crew chief Jeff Hammond, two-time series champion Todd Bodine. And you know, you really can call this the perfect storm. Not only do you have the unknown of Talladega, but also today, drivers will be eliminated.
Absolutely. You know, I love Talladega. Whether I'm driving behind the wheel or I'm watching in the grandstands or on TV, I love this race. It's truly like a high-speed chess match. You got to plan your moves to what the other guy, where you think that other guy's going to move is going to be. And when you're doing all this at 190 mile an hour, nobody's comfortable in these trucks at all.
You know what? This is a cutoff race, right?
Yes.
Can I check your temperature? Are you sure you're feeling okay? You like this place? But when you think about it and the way you put it, there's only two drivers that actually going to have a smile on their face when they drop the green flag here today. And then that's the two as far as that's already locked in for the next round. The rest of them, hang on for your hat. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, there is so much on the line today at Talladega, but in the first two races of the playoffs, we saw a lot of excitement as well as two drivers locked themselves into the next round.
Gregson gets underneath. Gilliland and Gregson go side by side in a round. Justin Haley is going to come through and win in Canada. Haley comes through the playoff opener. Grant Enfinger off turn 4. Here he comes. He's going to do it. Grant Enfinger wins at Las Vegas.
Great job, everybody. That's what I'm talking about.
One to go in this round as we take a look at the playoffs leaderboard. Now, Justin Haley and Grant Enfinger, by virtue of those wins, they go on to the next round. Johnny Sauter is very comfortable. Basically speaking, all he has to do is finish, and he will advance. That leaves a couple of spots left for some drivers that are very tight in points. You see, there's not too many that separate the last one from the first one out. So as tight as the points are right now, Todd, could we see some surprises today?
Well, I think we've already seen a couple surprises. The two guys that are advanced to the next round, Justin Haley, Grant Enfinger. You know, Justin's a surprise to me because I didn't expect him to get to this next round, especially winning. Their performance has been really good, but it's up and down. They're not consistent. Good runs, bad runs. Grant Enfinger, just the opposite. I thought Grant, I got him going all the way to the Final Four in Homestead, but I thought it was going to be because of his consistency, not because he won a race. And here he goes out and wins Vegas, gets to the next round. Grant, good for him. It's all looking up for him.
The thing is right now, guys, you got to realize this is a cutoff race. And these points are so tight. And we keep talking about stage points, what you need to do as far as track position. And when you look at the overall starting lineup, all these guys are up toward the front and they realize what's at stake, especially Brett Moffitt, who's somebody who's won races and he's right there on the cusp of getting himself in trouble. He's got to be aggressive. It's, to me, this Talladega pressure cooker, I mean, it's getting ready to start really boiling over. And I can't wait to see who is going to wind up doing it the right way or somebody who's going to wind up being the wrong way. And that surprise situation, it could wind up being a non-playoff person. And that could really, devastate a lot of these guys because it'll all fall back to points.
Yeah, and there are two ways still to advance here. You get the win, you're guaranteed, but then you can still work it out by way of points. Now, let's take a look at this round of 6. We know for sure that Haley and Enfinger are already in there. There are 4 more spots available after that. And then, of course, the Championship 4 races head-to-head in Homestead for that title. But in the round of 6, we have Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix. And once we get through the Talladega pressure cooker of today, guys, we have some very diverse racetracks, and certainly no one is going to be able to just be good at one type of racetrack. You got to be consistent.
And that's what I love about the next round of the playoffs. 3 different racetracks. They're all different sizes, and it takes all aspects of racing to get there. You got to drive smart. You got to have good trucks. You got to have good horsepower. It takes everything. So to me, it's going to separate the good teams and good drivers from the guys that shouldn't be there.
And the thing is, 2 of the 3 we've already seen. Joe Nemechek won Martinsville. John Hunter Nemechek won Martinsville. Johnny Sauter won at Texas. But nobody's seen Phoenix this year. And so we don't know exactly what to expect, who's going to be good on that 1 mile, really tricky racetrack. So as you're talking, We don't know. And that unknown makes it even more interesting and compelling because that's how you're going to get to Homestead.
Yep, the idea is simple, or sounds simple, survive and advance. Now, let's get you caught up on some of the news since our last race. Junior Motorsports announced that Noah Gragson will take over the #1 Chevy in the NASCAR Xfinity Series when Elliott Sadler retires at the end of the year. Gragson has claimed 2 wins in 2 seasons with Kyle Busch Motorsports and is currently fighting for the Truck Series championship. GMS Racing announced that Cody Coughlin has left the team in just their first season together due to unforeseen sponsorship issues. But in Martinsville, the team will be adding 2 new drivers to its lineup. Sheldon Creed will be making the move to trucks after securing his first ARCA Series championship in Kansas next weekend. And coming from an off-road truck background, Creed has made 3 truck starts, all on the dirt at Eldora. And also joining the team will be the driver who finished second in the K&N E-Series point standings this season, Tyler Dipple. In 3 seasons in K&N, Dipple scored 2 wins, the most recent at Langley Speedway earlier this year. Both drivers will compete in the final 4 races of the season for GMS. So some driver changes are on the horizon, but Todd, we sure hate to see Cody Coughlin go.
Yeah, I really hate it. You know, Cody's really gotten the hang of these trucks. He's gotten better as the year has gone on. But it is a funding issue for Cody, and I talked to him this morning on the phone, and he's really excited about his future. He's got some other plans outside of racing, some things he's going to do, but he was really happy about the people he's met, the friends he's made, and the teams he's raced for here. And he said don't count him out. If he can get some funding, he's coming back.
Yep, things change in these series every year. Now, coming up on NASCAR Race Day, Todd traveled to Wisconsin to visit with Johnny Sauter and his family to see how the Truck Series veteran handles the pressures of raising a family and racing.
I hate it when I make a mistake, you know what I'm saying? And it just sticks with me. I'm not the guy that can get out and be like, oh, well, you know, let's you know, go home and have a beer and some brats. You know what I mean? I can't do that.
And Grant Enfinger is coming to his home track of Talladega with a little weight off his shoulders after securing a spot in the next round of the playoffs. We'll hear what he thinks about his chances of winning the championship when race day returns.
You're watching NASCAR Race Day, only on Fox.
NASCAR Race Day on Fox is sponsored by Camping World, America's #1 RV retailer since 1966. Visit the Camping World Supercenter today.
Johnny Sauter is going to win the season opener at Daytona. Oh, contact. And for the first time, win at Charlotte. Friesen looking inside. No. Johnny Sauter will win at Bristol.
With 5 wins already this season, Johnny Sauter is having the best year of his career, even better than 2016 when he won the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Championship. But some might say he's doing it a bit unconventionally. While most of NASCAR teams and drivers live in and around Charlotte, North Carolina, Johnny and his family made the decision 4 years ago to pack up and head home to Wisconsin.
Why did you move back to Wisconsin? I mean, Mooresville's Race City, USA, and that's where it's all at. But you chose to come back home to Wisconsin.
That's a loaded question. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, as you get older and you have kids, you have to make decisions based off of maybe not necessarily what's best for you, but what's best for them and what's best for your family. So my wife Courtney is from here. I'm from Wisconsin. I've got a big family, a lot of brothers and sisters. I turned out okay as I got older, so why not try to raise my kids in kind of the same environment?
What's life like home with 4 children?
It's fun. It's challenging, to say the least. We try to keep the kids, you know, busy. It's crazy, and it goes by so fast.
Did we win? We get the bubbles? Yeah. All right.
They're side by side. The lead and the win. Sauter and Moffitt side by side. At the line, it's Brett Moffitt.
Yeah, I just blew it. So there's no other way to put it. And apologize to everybody at GMS.
It's such an emotional sport, and you put in so much.
When you come home, is that easy for you to leave at the track?
No. You know, I'm a competitive person, obviously, to a fault, probably. You know, I've poured my whole life really into racing. I scrimped and scrapped and did whatever I had to do to go racing. So I want to make good on that, obviously. If I feel like I screw up somewhere and I finish second, that carries with me for a while.
When he has a bad race, he is hard on himself, and it is probably part of who he is at home. But I do believe that the kids are great at reminding him what's important in life. You know, 4 kids, all different ages, so there's not a lot of time to think about what happened, what did I do wrong at the racetrack, because you're just trying to be a good dad, and that's what he does.
The race fans see the tough side of Johnny Sauter.
I don't got nothing to lose.
Hey, I
don't care anymore.
Do you think they'd be surprised to see the Johnny that I know, the home guy, the father of 4 and the husband?
Obviously, that's my job, that's my profession, that's what's on TV, that's how I come across. But I'm at home, I feel like I'm a pretty good dad, and you know, I can sit back, relax with the kids, and I'm kind of a private, quiet guy, and I'm okay with that.
Well, just for the record, I think you're a really good dad.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Nice look at a great racing family. You know, at one point there was a NASCAR race that featured 4 Sauters, and they're as tight off the course as they are on.
You know, I went up there and I did this feature. I wanted the fans to see the side of Johnny that I know. I got to be really good friends with Johnny and Courtney before they moved back to Wisconsin. And the Johnny I know is a lot of fun. He's not hard-nosed. He's a great guy. He's great with his family. And I'm very fortunate to call him a good friend, and I miss him. I miss him a lot.
You know, the thing is, you said he's a good dad, and you talk about not being hard-nosed, but you let him get behind that wheel, and all of a sudden, he told you, I'm a competitor. And he, even though he's 40 years old, he has not lost the desire to go out and beat and bang, and he's not going to take anything off of anybody, and he's having a fantastic year. Where everybody else at his age may be kind of slowing down, it looks to me like he is picking it up.
I think right now Johnny is at his peak as a driver. You know, he's had a lot of success before this, there's no doubt about it. But right now, he's seen everything he does on the racetrack is right. Yeah, we make mistakes. He got beat by Brett at Michigan, but that's just racing. He does a lot of good things on the track, and he's good off the track, too.
Yeah, it probably has many more years of racing, we hope, in him. Now, as we get ready for the race today, our entire Fox family's thoughts are with those who have been affected by Hurricane Michael, and you can help by simply donating today. To do so, go to redcross.org or text Michael to 90999 to give $10 to American Hurricane Relief. Next on NASCAR Race Day, we'll take a look at how the unpredictability of Talladega could affect the playoff picture. Stick around. NASCAR Race Day. We'll be right back.
You're watching NASCAR Race Day, only on Fox.
Welcome back to Race Day, everybody. There's a bird's eye view of the huge racetrack at Talladega as we count down to the green flag. It may seem quiet right now, but that's all about to change in a hurry. Let's get your Race Day recap. We had 2 practice sessions yesterday. Justin Haley had the fastest truck in the first practice.
And don't forget, Justin Haley won the ARCA race here earlier, a year ago, I should say.
On to practice session number 2. This time it was Spencer Gallagher.
Spencer Gallagher, let's not forget now that he won the Xfinity race here earlier this year. He knows how to get it done on the speedways.
But when it came to qualifying, we got a score 1 for the veterans. There is David Gilliland as he won the pole for today's race. With that in mind, let's take a look at the starting grid. And there we see Gilliland. He is the top dog.
Yeah, David Gilliland, the 8th different driver that Mike Hillman Jr. has had in this truck this year. And first pole this year. But the last time that Mike Jr. sat on a pole at Talladega in a truck, he went on to win the race.
Yeah, a little deeper in the field, a 2-time winner here at Talladega, Parker Kligerman, that number 75 truck from Henderson Racing. He likes restrictor plate racing. Watch that 75 come to the front.
Yeah, now there will be a freight train of trucks on the track today, but guys, you got to watch this whole race and you got to watch the whole field because there's playoff implications everywhere.
Absolutely, and these playoff drivers, every driver in the track, really, you got to have patience at Talladega. If you try to get in a hurry, you're going to get in trouble. If you try to force a situation, you're going to get in trouble. We've seen it 100 times. A guy will make a mistake and crash the whole field.
You know, the thing is, Todd, too, you can't be riding in the back if you want to wind up transferring today. Too many guys have got too much at stake. But I think you got to have trust. You got to have trust not only with your spotter, your crew chief, your fellow competitor, but you got to trust yourself. You got to trust that you can get up there and race with these guys like you need to, and know you got to use that patience, but you've got to stay engaged. You're not going to wind up getting points unless you don't stay up toward the front.
Well, you talk about points and running in the back. These playoff drivers, they can't do that. They have to get stage points. They need every single point they can get, because we know that two of these guys at least are going to points their way into the next round. Make sure you pay attention to stage points and you race at the front of the field.
And then maybe you get an upset winner and it upsets the whole apple cart. Maybe you get the big one that does the exact same thing with a minimal mistake at Talladega. Now, at our last race in Las Vegas, Grant Enfinger scored his first win of the year and locked himself into the next round of the playoffs. After narrowly missing the playoffs last year, this season has been a bit of redemption for Grant.
We've definitely stepped up a lot on our 98 team from where we were this time last year to where we are now. But our stage points, our consistency with our speed has been much better. So definitely proud of all the progress we've made. But I think once we get into round 2, I think we're going to need a win. And then obviously we need a win at Homestead as well to win the championship.
Yeah, he's right. That's usually what it boils down to. But Todd, how far can this young man go this year?
Well, I had Grant going to the Final Four in Homestead in my bracket, but not because he's winning races, because of his consistency. Him and his crew chief, Jeff Hensley, have had consistent trucks all year long, always in the top 5. If they're not in the top 5, they're in the top 10 with a bad truck, but they're finishing races and they're consistent. Grant's driving has been phenomenal all year, and he goes out and he wins Las Vegas and gets himself in the next round. So I wasn't surprised if he won one of the next ones to get to Homestead.
You know, the thing that's amazing about him when you talk about his consistency is they have been able to be one of only three other drivers that have finished all the races so far this year. So that consistency has been throughout the year. No mechanical issues, even though they were a little bit slow to start because of some minor injury switching to Ford this year. But the key thing is he's a smart race car driver. He has taken everything he's learned and put it together this year, and he is probably in his best position to win one of these championships that I've ever seen. So I agree with you. He looks like he's going to pretty much make his way to Homestead.
You know, you talk about it, Grant. We think of Grant as a newcomer in the truck series, but he's not a new racer. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of smarts behind the wheel.
Yeah, and if he can get into that championship 4, he has a shot at the big trophy. Now, after getting the pole yesterday, David Gilliland said this would be the most meaningful race of his career because he gets to be teammates with his son Todd in his first Superspeedway race. Both Gillilands are sponsored by Pedigree this weekend, with David running the adult formula and Todd carrying the puppy formula. The Gillilands joined Fox Sports' own Jamie Little on Thursday to help Pedigree present the Greater Humane Society of Birmingham with a grant for the work they do helping animals displaced by natural disasters. Not only did the Gillilands get to present a check and play with the puppies, but they also left with a new family member. Winston Gilliland got a quick introduction to life at the track yesterday and even helped David fulfill his post-qualifying media obligations.
Everyone convinced my dad that we should get this little guy. So we brought Winston home, and now he's at first day with us. He's at the racetrack. So no better way to break in a new family member.
Oh, and what a great family member. You just can't go wrong with puppies.
No.
So we go from the softness of puppies to the toughness of Talladega. Guys, this is going to be a firestorm. You know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. once said, racing at Talladega is like a bar fight on 4 wheels.
That's a great analogy, I'll tell you. But the thing that I like about Talladega, it's a thinking man's game. It really is. You have to think about what move you're going to make, a straightaway, a corner, or lap ahead. You have to think about the other guy. You got to think the whole time.
You know, and some guys we haven't even talked about, you know, Spencer Gallagher, Timothy Peters, they've won here before. You can't, they're going to be a factor today. You watch and see.
Well, thanks to Todd Bodine and Jeff Hammond, we are done here in the studio. But right now, let's head to the track for truck racing from Talladega.
It is unmistakable, like no other. It is the biggest track. It has the steepest banking. It's produced the closest finish in Truck Series history. It is Talladega. A picture-perfect day, looks peaceful and calm on the outside, but 32 drivers are protecting their nerves and feeling anxiety from the chaos that's about to take over. It is race day at one of America's iconic tracks.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and remove your hats as the Alabama Army National Guard presents our national colors. Please remain standing as revivalist and editor of the Christian Index, Dr. Gerald Harris offers today's invocation.
Our Father in heaven, we acknowledge you as the giver of all that is good and perfect. We pray for your divine protection over the participants in this race from the time they start their engines to the finish line. May all of us come to know your love as demonstrated in the sacrificial death of your only begotten Son. May we realize that we are all in a race, and help us to look to the author and finisher of our faith for direction, peace, and eternal life, knowing that one day he will judge us on how we have run the race. In the name of your darling Son and Christ our Savior, amen.
Here to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, please welcome from Woodstock, Alabama, Taylor Hanson, accompanied by signer Kaylee Gable from the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind, as they perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, in the home of the
Let's hear it for Taylor Hanson and Kaylee Gable.
The fans are ready.
National anthem, and a special thanks to
Just the
John
mention of Talladega can make a driver sweat. It's never simple here, especially under playoff circumstances. Justin Haley isn't feeling the nerves. However, he was at the right place at the right time in the playoff opener, and that win in Canada guarantees him a spot into the next round. And then the last race, Grant Enfinger. He hit the Vegas jackpot and punched his ticket to the next round, the round of 6. So we've got a couple of underdogs sitting pretty. And then there's Ben Rhodes. Trouble at Canada put him behind from the very beginning of the playoffs. And now Rhodes finds himself on the outside of the cut line. And Stuart Friesen also on the outside looking in. Trouble aplenty for Friesen in Las Vegas. Has him 8th of 8 in the playoff standings. No room for error today. For more on Friesen's challenge, here's Hermie Sadler.
Vince, today is an elimination race here at Talladega, which means the championship hopes of 2 of our contenders will end today. The driver with the most ground to make up, you mentioned it, Stuart Friesen. He's 10 points below the cut line. Why? Let's look back to Las Vegas last time on track. A multitude of issues for Stuart Friesen, including this late race spin through the infield, put Friesen in this position. Now he's got an opportunity at lap 20 at the end of stage 1 to score some stage points. The issue now is this 52 truck will have to go to the rear of the field to start today's race. Caitlin Vincey.
Well, Hermie, another driver below the cut line is Ben Rhodes. And talking with Ben earlier today, not happy with that 14th place qualifying effort. He said, we definitely are going to have to work hard to make up ground, make our way up to the front of the field to try and gain those stage points, but also telling me this isn't one of my better racetracks. He said, I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of anxiety going into this event today. Vince?
A lot of anxiety up and down that grid today, that's for sure. Great to have you with us, along with Michael Waltrip and Kevin Harvick. I'm Vince Welch. You know, there's enough intensity and pressure just with Talladega itself, but
It's a playoff race, it's a cutoff race, and that just adds to it. How do they handle it today?
Well, there's a lot of different agendas as we go into today's race. I think when you look at Justin Haley and Grant Enfinger, all they care about today is winning the race. They just want to add to their playoff point total. And then you have Johnny Sauter, who's got a big enough point cushion to where he's probably fairly good. And from there, I don't know, Mike. You better score some stage points, and as you get further down to Friesen and Ben Rhodes, they have to score playoff points, and they have to try to win.
You know what I love about anxiety? It leaves the racetrack and comes right up here in the booth. I mean, this place makes me crazy. I love the action we're going to see. And think about some of the guys that are starting out back. Johnny Sauter, he's in great shape with the playoffs, but look, he's going to drop to the rear here at the start, along with Stuart Friesen. He has to go to the rear as well. Those are corporate teammates. It'll be interesting to see how they push forward through the field. But Vince, what I love, I think there's going to be more action at the back of the pack than there is at the front. Many different agendas. In fact, I talked to 10 crew chiefs. They had 14 different agendas. Now, some of them had an A and a B plan, but there's a lot of different thoughts going on pit road.
Yeah, and that A and B plan going to change throughout the course of the race. We'll have the perspective from high up atop the track here, and Phil Parsons, who's normally with us in the booth, down on pit road today for his view. Hello, Phil.
Hello, Vince, and we talk about agendas. Well, there's a guy behind me that has one agenda, and that's get to the front and win this race. We saw how aggressive he was last year. Let's take a look at what kind of moves he made last year. There he is, pushing and shoving his way towards the front. Started out towards the back, but he made his way towards the front, got in position late in the race on a late restart. Here he is on the inside, gets to the start-finish line. Huge wreck behind him. He goes to victory lane. Parker Kligerman will have to do it again from the back. He started qualified 20th, but he's going all the way to the back for the start, Vince.
Okay, so we're hearing about the big names and drivers that we would anticipate could win this race having to come from the back. How patient or how aggressive are you in going to the front from the rear?
Well, Vince, I just don't know that there's too many guys in this field that can do what Parker Kligerman did last year, just because of the way the rules are. You can't lock bumpers in the truck series. You can bump, but you can't stay attached to the truck, and he did a masterful job of pushing those trucks in the outside line forward. And I don't know that there's too many guys that can do that, Mike.
And then also, you got to go now, Vince. This race is short. We're going to run 20 laps and have a stage in, so you got to be aggressive. And I think Parker Kligerman is one guy to watch. Also, I don't care if he's starting in the back or not. I like Johnny Sauter to use his experience and his aggressiveness to get to the front. Who do you think wins this race, Kevin?
I like Grant Enfinger. I think he's got a lot of confidence, and it's a home game for him, and he's won here before.
And you haven't even picked the pole winner, David Gilliland. How do you go against the guy that's fastest in qualifying? He's going to start him from the front today. It's going to be fun here at Talladega.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Fr8Auctions founder and owner, Marcus Barella. Hard on able to 125, 125 to 150, 175 to get 2, 2 and a quarter heavy to get Fr8Auction 250. Drivers, start your engines!
Fired up. We're running, everything's good. Shutting her off.
Wish it was as simple as just going to the highest bidder, but it's not going to work that way today. Who's going to win at Talladega? There's no place like it. It's Talladega.
You just don't know the emotion and the intensity that these cats are operating with right now. There's no margin for error. Whoa, there they go. There they go. Mike Wallace into the wall. This race is over, and Mark Martin has won again.
Todd Bodine and Kyle Busch. It's Todd Bodine at the line.
And it's going to be Parker Kligerman for the second time, a winner at Talladega.
Great job, everybody.
It's the biggest, baddest, fastest track in the series, and a perfect setting for today's elimination race in the Camping World Truck Series playoffs. We have been waiting, and the time has finally arrived. Back truck racing. It's the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Talladega. It's the cutoff race in the round of 8. A beautiful day at Talladega here in Central Alabama. And how about this racetrack? The Camping World track description.
Well, I can tell you this is the biggest and baddest track that there is. It's 2.66 miles long. The turns have 33 degrees of banking. The front stretch is 16.5 degrees. The back stretch 2 degrees. And the straightaways in the front is 4,300 feet and the back is 4,000. Long ways.
Sometimes numbers don't tell the story, does it? But this place is super fast. The race analysis, I talked about these stages, just 20 laps and they're going to pay points. Look at those 2 20-lap heat races as valuable. These guys have a 34 to 36 lap pit window. And we talked about Kligerman, who got the big win here at this super fast speedway a year ago.
Qualifying yesterday, and David Gilliland earned pole position. He was also the pole winner at Daytona. Spencer Gallagher will start alongside on the front row.
Just behind them, Enfinger, Timothy Peters. Peters could be a real threat here. Johnny Sauter, Todd Gilliland. First super speedway start. What are those nerves like?
There are a lot of nerves. And then you see Matt Crafton, who needs to score a lot of points today right there with Austin Hill.
Stuart Friesen, 8th in the playoff standings, going to have to go to the rear. Noah Gragson looking for his 2nd win of the season.
Let's try the radio on that 41 with Ben Rhodes. Hey, Ben Rhodes, this is Kevin Harvick up in the Fox booth. We know you've got a lot on your plate today, and we appreciate you talking to us. But what's the plan today? You got 2 short stages of 20 laps. Are you going for points or a win today?
Man, I wish we really had a plan, but today is all about points. You know, we've got to see how we shake out for these first 2 stages, get as many points as possible, and then see what we got to do at the end of the race. But, you know, every time I try to come to a plan at Talladega, I'm sure you know, Kevin, it goes right out the window when the green flag drops.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good day, and we'll be watching, and thanks for talking to us.
Sir, thank you.
Onboard cameras today going to provide some great looks.
Check out this Toyota on board with Noah Gragson. He's got a lot on his plate, too. He knows he's not anywhere near safe for advancing to the next round. He's going to start in lucky 13th, he hopes.
Well, mine is going to give us an exciting view. We've got the visor cam on Grant Enfinger here with the Ford Performance in-car camera, in-truck camera today. But I can tell you, this view right here is my favorite camera view, and I know a lot of the fans love seeing out the driver's shield, and this gives us such a great perspective to see what's happening, and he's going to be up front, I think, all day.
And we had that mirror circled. He'll be looking out the mirror as much as he will out the front window, huh?
Eyeballs right there all day long.
Getting ready to go racing at Talladega. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series racing on Fox is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Scott Zipadelli is the crew chief for the 16 of Brett Moffitt. You guys right in the middle of the playoff picture. How do you attack this race?
We're going to race it. We talked about it as a team, and I feel like the best decision for us is to race the HRE Toyota Tundra up front and be in control of our own destiny versus trying to play it safe, get in the back, and still get wrecked. We're going to go for it and try to get as many stage points as we can early on, and then if we're safe, we'll go for a win. If not, we'll change our strategy at that point.
Caitlin?
Well, Hermie Jr. Joyner calls the shots for Matt Crafton just above the cut line in the playoff standings. What's the strategy for this team with those 2 short stages up front?
Stay on the yellow line, I guess, all day. We'll just we got decent track position. We just need stage points, obviously, and then to be there at the end with a shot to win, hopefully. Our Menards Ford F-150 been good all weekend. The guys have done a heck of a job. Body shop, fab shop, everybody involved. We've been working our guts out, and all we got to do is make it to the next one.
Thanks for your time. Good luck to you. Phil?
Well, they've all got a plan, but how quickly that plan goes out the window, another story altogether.
That's why some of them had 2 plans, Vince.
David Gilliland, the pole winner in that yellow Toyota Tundra on the inside. Spencer Gallagher will start on the outside. It's the playoffs. It's a cutoff race, and it's Talladega. We're green. The high line pushes Spencer Gallagher to the front.
And those guys were formed up really good in that top line. They got connected enough to get some momentum. The bottom line was not connected down there, and they were able to get right to the bottom. And it sounds, Mike, like that's where everybody wants to be, right on that yellow line.
You can see Matt Crafton's crew chief. He's that bright yellow truck. Junior Joyner said, we're going to follow the yellow line. That's the safest way to play this first stage. And historically, Kevin, the progress, the move, the momentum has all been down on the bottom. It'll be interesting to see if that's the case today.
Get the wheels below the yellow line, but you can't go below the yellow line to improve your position. That's a penalty, so keep an eye on that. It has come into play in years past here at Talladega. 3 wide, deeper in the pack. Everybody trying to find a spot.
Well, those guys that started in the back, and you know this, Michael, as you get that momentum from the pack, you can make the high line work a little bit more because you get the engine wound up, you get everything going a little bit quicker. But as soon as they have to hit the brakes and slow down, that momentum goes away. So you want to take advantage of that early in the race.
And you can see it developing, Vince, down on the bottom. The first four trucks have broken free. Now the fifth of Noah Gregson. There's Ben Rhodes getting ahead of the 4 truck of Todd Gilliland on the outside. So they're making that progress that we thought we would see down low. And when you're running back there where Gilliland is and you see Bola Mastis in that blue truck in the middle, it's so tempting to reach down and side draft, try to rub some speed off the guy you're racing alongside, but that's a dangerous game to start to play.
Well, and let's not forget the experience level. You know, this is Talladega. Every truck in the field feels like they can win, but your truck is like, it's going to do things that you don't like, and it's going to do things that you didn't know about. It's going to move around. It's going to dance, and these things get light on their feet when you really start getting them going a lot faster than what you practiced.
You see the colors and the widgets alongside the names of the drivers in the pylon. You want that green or yellow. That means you're in the playoffs. If a red one's next to your name, means you're a playoff driver on the outside looking in.
Vince, I can't look at those widgets. I can only look at this pack and this battle. This is so intense. And remember, this is just the start of this, baby. Things will just continue to escalate.
The 75 of Parker Kligerman, last year's winner here at Talladega, had to start at the back, trying to make his way to the front. It's awful crowded,
right before the race, and he said, hey, I'm going to probably spend a little bit of time trying to see who wants to run with me and be aggressive on the outside. Well, that worked all of about 1 lap. He jumped down to the inside, and he's made pretty good progress on the inside of the racetrack.
Typical driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they discussed that plan for 2 days about what they were going to do, and the driver decides, you know, that's not good for me right now.
Just didn't feel right. And you know, you see the 3 lines here, and you see Todd Gilliland in that 4 truck. He went all the way from about 4th, 5th, 6th, wherever he started there, all the way to the back. And all that 3rd line was doing was just not only hurting themselves, it was hurting the momentum of the 2nd line. So 3 lines right now, unless you get them all stacked up at the front, is just that 3rd line is going to do nothing but hurt the momentum of the 2nd lane.
And I think you could see the strength of that blue truck. It says Fred's on the side of it, but it's Bola Mastis, and he's able to pull that outside line up a little bit. They're able to hang with the top 5. He's got a nice push from behind, and it looks like that they're making some good progress.
A couple of father-son combinations in the race. Got Todd Gilliland, who you guys were mentioning earlier, drifted all the way to the back. His dad, David Gilliland, was the pole winner and currently rides 3rd. Joe Nemechek and John Hunter Nemechek, also father-son combination in this one today.
And as I watch, Kevin, that looks like almost organized chaos. Those trucks are buffeting around all over the place. What is it like as a driver to be out there and just try to follow a guy, but yet he's moving side to side?
Well, as many times as we talk about the Truck Series being the place where you learn and the place where you see young drivers pitted against the veterans, these are the hardest to drive on the super speedway, because when you do touch bumpers, it kind of lifts the back of the truck up and makes the back of the truck feel really light. Yeah, you gain speed, but it's an uneasy feeling as the driver. When they're in the draft, they dance around. They've got, you know, spring rules and shock rules in the back of these things, and they just aren't comfortable to drive. So these guys have their hands full, and the tighter that these trucks get, and the closer. Right now, they're not side drafting like they're going to be. They're not bumping like they're going to be, and they're tough to drive.
Well, you can see how pinned the noses are. The nose is really low on the racetrack, and that means the back end is hiked up. Well, that's just not a good combination. If the nose is low, it's going to hit the back and want to lift it off the ground.
How about that 13 of Myatt Snyder, along with the 21 of Johnny Sauter right behind him, and 52 Stuart Friesen. They all started at the rear, and they have moved to the front. Snyder currently running 6th.
Talked to the GMS guys and asked them if they had a plan. He said, yeah, we're going to try to work together, but sometimes that never works out. Well, it's sure working right now for Johnny Sauter and Stuart Friesen up in that 2nd lane.
Well, those are stout horses, Phil. The talk in the garage area was about the speed of the GMS trucks, and would they be able to tie their 5 trucks together and control this race? That's an awful big task to think you're going to accomplish when you have that many trucks. But when you have the speed that they have, you can attract other guys that will get on board with you.
Look at those trucks moving around at 180 to 90 miles per hour. And as Kevin was talking about earlier, it's hard to keep those under you, hard to keep it steady. And that air buffets the truck around.
And here's the other thing, stage racing, 20 laps, and you know there's only 14 laps, coming to 13 laps left in this stage. You've got to go. And these guys all know how important it is to score stage points. That's what makes your day.
Spencer Gallagher won the Xfinity Series race here back in the spring. Right now, he's out front in the truck at Talladega. How about that view out the front window of Grant Enfinger? He was in the lead just a moment ago. He took it away from Spencer Gallagher, but then Johnny Sauter got a nice push from his teammate, and Sauter has now gone to the front, but Snyder has taken it back on the inside. Great battle at the front at Talladega Stage 1.
What about Sauter from last to first in just 10 laps? Now he's battling back on the outside. That's a strong truck when you can make that move. Stuart Friesen, a teammate with him, is giving him the shove he needs.
Well, and they've got Justin Haley behind them as well. So you've got 3 GMS, basically 3 GMS trucks there. But they tried to wreck while we were in commercial.
Here's Enfinger taking the lead there on the right-hand side of the screen, taking the lead from Myatt Snyder after Snyder had led the first 9 laps of the race, but it did not last long because Enfinger was out there, and then all of a sudden Enfinger got put in the middle.
That is a horrible feeling, Vince.
Middle, 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 middle.
Is that the worst thing you ever want to hear at Talladega?
The worst thing for me right there was looking in his mirror. He's got a huge mirror in that truck. Looking in his mirror, it looked like they couldn't get out of the way fast enough to go by him.
I told you it was going to be more action at the back and the front. I think the top 3 right now all started last, and now they're battling for first.
What's that say about their trucks, that they could start back there and make it to the front in 12 laps?
They're fast. I think that's, you know, they were committed, and they wound up getting hooked up together, and you've got, you know, multiple fast trucks that were able to make ground on the outside right there, and a lot of experience from Johnny Sauter's standpoint.
And great, you know, just great drivers that are able to use the draft and manipulate the air so they can get where they're going. And I'm telling you, if you took a view of this from up above, you want to be up front because it is crazy out there.
Michael, they're not racing to a stage where these guys, these crew chiefs were talking about running this race today. 3 different races. You and I talked about that this morning, Michael. They think it's 3 different races. Race to lap 20, race to lap 40, and race to the checkered flag.
And you know who that benefits, Phil? All those fans watching on Fox and watching in the grandstand. That's why you see this action. They know how important it is to be out front at lap 20, at lap 40, and when they throw the checkered.
Well, the thing that'll really make you nauseous is looking at this points ticker over here as it goes from lap to lap.
Oh, man.
Spencer Gallagher there in a 2-truck. Nervous 2-truck.
What about Ben Rhodes? Where'd he go?
Well, Stuart Friesen was 8 points up the last lap, and he came back this lap, and now he's 10 points behind just by losing the second place slot there.
Yeah, Friesen went from 2nd to 8th in a snap of a finger. How about it, Hermie?
We just saw a mistake by Stuart Friesen in the 52, left the bottom of the racetrack open. He'll have to battle his way back. Remember, the 52 and the 21 had to start at the rear of the field today because NASCAR did not like the placement on some of the interior cooling devices on those trucks. Stuart Friesen desperately needs stage points. He's trying to battle his way back to the front. Now we have to remember, as we get down to the end of this stage, the trucks can bump, but they cannot lock bumpers and push for an extended period of time, Caitlin.
For me, another driver who needs to score stage points is Ben Rhodes. We talked about him earlier, below the cut line currently, telling me he has a lot of pressure on himself on this race, not only to advance on from this round, but he said also to help secure him a ride for next season. So, Kevin, what is that like when you're trying not to get eliminated from the playoffs, but also potentially impress people for a ride the following season?
Well Ben's a pretty intense guy, and you know, I think we talked about it earlier. He said this is not his favorite track, and then you put in there that he's racing for his playoff life right now to try to survive. So he's got a lot on his mind, and you know, these are character building moments where you can make an impression on people to be able to handle all those scenarios and drive yourself into a position to keep going in a playoff. So it's not a fun position as a driver, but you have to figure out how to survive, and that's the hardest thing to do at this level, is to keep your job every year and be able to move up.
Look at this run on the outside. John Hunter Nemechek giving the bump to Grant Enfinger, and they're making it work. That's textbook right there. That's how you push a guy ahead.
Bottom left of the pylon, the points as they run, and you see Friesen and Rhodes still both below the cut line, but they've swapped positions. Rhodes came into this race 7th and Friesen was 8th, but now it's the other way around. Still trying to make their way up with Moffitt now in that 16 truck on the bubble.
Two pretty solid picks by us, huh, Kevin? Your guys first, mine second, and they've come a long way to get there, but wow, this thing is so far from over the way these guys are driving.
Enfinger back in front of Sauter with Myatt Snyder right on the bumper of Johnny Sauter in that 21.
And the guy that's making me nervous right now is the 13 truck of Myatt Snyder. He's being very, very aggressive. That's what happened to Stuart Friesen earlier. He got him loose and got him up off the bottom of the racetrack. But man, he is being super aggressive with his bump drafts. And this is the part I don't like. He's offset to the left of that truck, and you need to be offset to the center or the right side of the truck to keep from spinning somebody out.
And also watch those first two trucks on the outside. That's Todd Gilliland. He hasn't done a whole lot of bump drafting. Can he keep control? That's David Gilliland. He can do the job. So these guys are just really so tight racing in this pack.
David Gilliland giving John Hunter Nemechek a little assistance on that outside line. Nemechek in that black number 8, another one of those that had to start at the rear because of changes and adjustments that they had to make to that truck after qualifying.
I can't wait till lap 20. I need a break.
Yeah, me too, Mike. I tell you, this is making me nervous right now. I was not expecting them to push and shove this hard in the first stage here, but obviously there's there's a lot of different agendas, and obviously one of them is to try to be up front and lead the race and score stage points. But the 51 truck there is pushing a little bit of water right there behind the 8, and that's not a good sign.
He's just been so aggressive.
Final laps of stage 1. We got a couple coming to pit road.
That's the differing agendas we talked about, Vince. These are guys that think that getting gas here and then staying out after the caution can benefit them. Hermie.
It's going to be fuel only for the two of Spencer Gallagher, actually left side tires. These guys are going to get fuel now, stay out when the stage caution comes, and gain track position at the beginning of the second stage.
So with a couple of laps to go, the pits are closed now after those two take service. Austin Hill and then 0-2 and the 2 truck of Spencer Gallagher. Grant Enfinger continues to lead them around. Enfinger won this race 2 years ago. He's an Alabama native. This place is so special to him to just race here, much less to be a winner here.
Kevin, you mentioned the 51 of Gilliland pushing a little water out. That is an OEM engine. That's a Toyota engine. That engine will run hotter than the NT1s. That's one of the reasons that KBM brought a couple of their trucks with that engine, because they could get away with pushing a little bit of water out.
Bill, it's 1 to go, and these guys are really pushing and shoving, trying to get those very important stage points. And remember at the top of the show, the 88 Junior Joyner, the crew chief, he said, we're going to follow the yellow line and hopefully score points, and that's what he's doing.
Well, he's in a great position to score points right now, and the guy that got shuffled out there again was the 52 truck of Stuart Friesen.
The top 10 get points at the end of this first stage, and for those that are in the playoff mix, those points are critical. Grant Enfinger leading them toward the line. Here to complete stage 1, Johnny Sauter right on his tail. A couple of championship contenders. It'll be Enfinger winning stage 1. He follows up his race victory at Las Vegas by winning stage 1 in his home state. Grant Enfinger off to a great start at Talladega. How about that stage 1 finish with Grant Enfinger and Johnny Sauter, just who Kevin Harvick and Michael Waltrip predicted would win the race. Looking like a couple of experts up here. Stage 1 complete, and Enfinger with that stage win is 5th of the season. The big news in that top 10 is you don't see the name of Stuart Friesen or Brett Moffitt, two drivers in the championship mix. They finished 11th and 12th, just outside the top 10. Coming for pit stops. Keep an eye on that 52 of Friesen. Hermie?
Vince, he started in the back, drafted his way to the front, then got kicked out of the draft 2 separate times, lost a lot of track position, very frustrated with his teammate Justin Haley. Also the 98 of Grant Enfinger, fuel only, no tires. He loves the speed of that truck, Caitlin.
Well, we saw Ben Rhodes only getting right side tires, fuel, and a track bar adjustment. Matt Crafton just got fuel only for that 88 machine.
Some 2 tires in there. Nemechek takes 4. John Hunter?
How would you like to be
most gas only?
Some of those guys that battled right in that top 5 all that stage and went through nearly crashing over and over, and then no stage points to show for it. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Ben Rhodes, leaving the pit box. The crew doing a nice job, but look, Rhodes gets blocked in trying to exit his pit box.
Yeah, and he just had a terrible angle that he was pointed, and the truck in front of him was there, and his angle was just bad getting out of the pit box. But the guy I'm worried about is the 52. Did you see him come sliding in there with those tires, and they didn't change them? So hopefully that's not flat spotted.
Yeah, we saw some smoke coming off that right front of the 52 of Friesen.
I think we should talk to the 98 truck, my pick. Hey, Grant Enfinger, this is Kevin Harvick up in the Fox booth. Congratulations on that stage win, man. You're making me look good up here. You were my pick to win. So how wild is it out there?
Not a problem. Not a problem. Just let you know.
Yeah. It's like at low RPMs, it'll try to keep it like super smooth, so it won't do that. And I was just too conservative that time. But anyway, just me and you talking. And I'm talking to Jeff and Pepper. So just me and you talking. How did the 13 look? Did he look comfortable when he was out there pushing and getting pushed, or what?
The answer would be no to this question.
He made the 52, baby.
Well, he didn't hear you, but we got the information anyway. Communication between the team. Enfinger, the stage 1 winner. Some great football going on tonight. Heisman contender Will Greer leads number 6 West Virginia against Iowa State. See it at 7 o'clock Eastern. And then the Buffs, number 19 Colorado battling USC. All on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Back here at Talladega, getting ready for stage 2. A couple of penalties from that first round of pit stops. The 51 of David Gilliland, a 1-lap penalty for pitting outside his pit box. And the 16 of Brett Moffitt will have to go to the tail end of the line after an uncontrolled tire penalty. Hermie?
Yeah, Vince, the 16 had come down pit road, got 2 tires, had to come back down pit road, so they went ahead and put 2 more tires on this truck. Also, a little bit of a break for this team as well, overheating the engine, so they were able to clean the grill and actually take a little bit of tape off the front of that truck to cool the engine. Phil?
Hermie, the guys were talking about the 52 or Stuart Friesen sliding the tires coming down pit road. I just asked Trip Bruce if any concern at all about the sliding the tires. He said, no, I washed it. It's not like he laid on them for several pits. He said, I think we're going to be just fine.
I just hope it doesn't cause a vibration, Phil. That seemed like enough of a slide to where it could. And the reason that vibrations are such a pain here at Talladega, it vibrates your mirror. You can't see. It's also frustrating. It aggravates you, so you're not focused totally on your job. I hope that's not the issue.
Well, and if it's vibrating and it's different than it was before, as a driver sitting in the truck, you don't know how bad that tire feels or looks. You just know how bad it feels and how much different it is. So all you're thinking about is the tire going to blow out?
And on top of all the other stuff you're thinking is going to happen.
Radio from Grant Enfinger.
I don't think that 13's good enough to lead. I mean, he's probably not a bad shooter as long as he pushes you on the straightaway, but he was beating on that 52 through the trial, and he finally had to, Friesen finally had to bail. I do not want to get pushed through the trial by anybody.
I don't either.
The 13 of Myatt Snyder was making Johnny Sauter nervous when he was pushing him as well.
He was making us nervous too.
Getting ready for this restart to open stage 2. The 0-2 of Austin Hill and the 2 of Spencer Gallagher. That's Hill on the inside.
That's some of those varying agendas you spoke of, Kevin. They stayed out and pitted before, they pitted before the stage break and then stayed out under this caution. It's got them right up front. That's a good call.
Well, and what happens after that first stage, Mike? This stage just gets shorter with all those caution flags. So we've only got 15 laps left to go in this stage. So, you know, the track position sometimes trumps being able to come in and put 4 tires on or whatever your strategy is when the caution comes out.
Had a great look from that onboard of Noah Gragson. That inside line or that middle line just taking off and running right past the 18 truck of Gragson.
Yeah, he had his teammate behind him. The Ford truck of Todd Gilliland, and Gilliland went to the middle, and that shuffled Gragson back.
Guys, you were talking about the agendas. I talked to Jeff Hensley, crew chief for Grant Enfinger, right before the race, and he said their plan was to stop as long as they were up front with 2 laps to go in the second stage, and then have the track position as we start the last stage.
And Phil, the thing I don't like about that, up front trucks pitting under green causes wrecks off turn 4. So we're going to have to watch that closely and see if that develops.
Enfinger now getting inside of the 4 of Todd Gilliland, and Enfinger slots in behind Austin Hill, giving a push.
I like the strategy of Matt Crafton. He's just been quietly sneaking his way forward, using that yellow line as his buddy.
The only time we talk about him is just that he's moving forward and he's steady and not making any mistakes. There's a lot of these guys that are moving all over the place, pushing and shoving, and 88 just keeps on chugging forward.
And that's Austin Hill at the front. Enfinger's pushing the 2 of Gallagher there on the outside line.
What about Austin Hill? Went to the back at the start, and just like Johnny Sauter and others, finds himself at the front now.
Best finish for Austin Hill earlier this season. In fact, just a couple of races ago, 8th. So running up front, not a position that he's normally familiar with.
Still middle. Clear low if you want it, half, back half.
Did you see how quick he took it? The spotter said, clear low if you want it. Don't ask me twice.
And you look at his mirror, Michael, that mirror looks like a video game. You know, with all those trucks just kind of moving all over and some of them just sitting there. I mean, you don't know where to look.
And it looks like a video game, but it hurts like it's real life, doesn't it, when it goes wrong.
Looking at that pylon there on the left-hand side of the screen, the 52 and the 41 with those red widgets, they're still on the outside looking in, as they have been since this race began. How about the 88 of Crafton, Caitlin?
Well, Vince, he's been pretty happy with that truck. Just did an air pressure adjustment on that last cycle of pit stops. But talking with both him and his crew chief earlier, they said, man, this has been one of the hardest seasons we've ever had. But in the last 2 events, we feel like this team has made a lot of strides and a lot of gains. They said we just have to survive Talladega, move on to the next round, because some of our best racetracks as a team are coming up after this round, guys.
Keep an eye on that for sure. Thank you, Caitlin.
I love Talladega.
How about the 10 of Jen Jo Cobb running 6th?
That's why I love Talladega. She's put herself in the right position time and time again, used the draft, and she's put her small team right up among the big dogs.
And for those of you that are watching today that typically don't watch NASCAR Truck Series racing, we're at Talladega. And when you come to Talladega, every truck that starts the field feels like they have a chance to win. And it's legitimate. And you know, I think the 10 truck of Jennifer Jo Cobb there is definitely proof of that as we watch this.
The draft definitely levels out the playing field. Austin Hill continues to lead with Matt Crafton right behind him. Johnny Sauter there in 3rd. Go to commercial, but you're not going to miss a thing. Going to keep on trucking from Talladega.
Hey! Chuck Norris, can you sign my Tacoma?
I'll be glad to.
From the fist of a legend rises a new action star. A hero who's there to save the day and the night. So fearless, so rugged, he's tough as Chuck.
You replaced me with a truck?
Toyota, let's go places.
In the NASCAR playoffs, the energy transforms everything.
The pack is flying apart!
An infield becomes the place to be.
No, Elliott's spin!
A spectator becomes a fan. An experience becomes unforgettable.
He lit the track on fire.
And a driver becomes a champion.
Quite the party in victory lane.
Be there as these drivers lay it all on the line.
Wow. Threading the needle.
Get your tickets to the NASCAR playoffs by visiting NASCAR.com/tickets.
You're ready to experience your new city and all of its dysfunction.
You're gonna be all right.
No!
All new 911, Monday on Fox.
The NFL is on Fox. For some, Cam Newton and the Panthers battle the Redskins. For others, Todd Gurley and the Rams take on Von Miller and the Broncos. Tomorrow on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
In the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series playoffs, you've got to lay it all on the line.
Back at Talladega, 9 laps remaining in stage 2. The 0-2 of Austin Hill from one of the small teams in the Truck Series garage. Out front, but challenged by the 2 of Spencer Gallagher.
What about
side by side?
30, Vince, of Scott Lagasse Jr. He's raced his way all the way up to second, and he had no practice yesterday. I mean, practice, not important practice. It wasn't important for this team. He's charged himself to the front.
Practice? Practice.
Michael, his first lap on the racetrack was qualifying and went out there first day of first practice, had an oil leak, didn't even complete a lap. His first lap at speed was qualifying. He was able to get that thing in the show. Brand new team on Portland Motorsports. They're only their 3rd race, had a top 10 at Las Vegas with Austin Theriault. We know that Scott Lagasse knows how to get it done on a super speedway. He has a top 5 at Daytona. He finished 3rd there 2 or 3 years ago. Scott Lagasse's the guy to watch.
What I love what I'm seeing is just how well that outside lane can make it happen.
You saw it while we were away at commercial. Watch that 13 right there in the middle of the screen into the 24. Oh, can't believe that didn't cause an accident. And then the 13 of Myatt Snider way up the track, but gathered it in, saved it.
And there just wasn't enough room right there, Mike. And Haley came down a little bit and wound up getting on the right front there of that 13 truck and almost caused a huge crash.
You got to give a tip of cap again to Jen Jo Cobb. She was right there and just held her line, went down off the road. Great racing, good heads up running.
Side by side. About 7 rows, 8 rows deep. Up front, the 2 of Spencer Gallagher on the outside. He started on the front row. Austin Hill in the 0-2. That 2 of Spencer Gallagher, they had slipped back, and that outside lane had slipped back. He was running 14th, and they have gathered themselves as an outside line and moved right back to the front. It's got to be encouraging for those guys that are going to have to use that outside line to get to the front maybe later in the race for the win.
Well, I think, you know, the thing that it shows us again is the GMS trucks, they're really fast. Spencer Gallagher is driving a GMS truck, which is Spencer and Johnny Sauter and Stuart Friesen and Justin Haley that you see right there in the 24 truck, and that was a tight call.
That's from the spotter about a half a mile away, clear. Yeah. And he was right, barely.
And you mentioned the spotters, Mike, how challenging it is for the spotters here at Talladega to keep their drivers in the right spot at this 2.66 mile track. Oh, a little contacted look there between the 0-2 of Austin Hill and the 13 of Snider. Was that Snider that came down?
Look at this big run for Lagasse to the inside.
Lagasse.
That was from a push. Todd Gilliland in that bright yellow 4 truck gave a huge shove to Lagasse, and it worked out.
We've had Austin Hill leading, and now Scott Lagasse from 2 of the smaller teams in the garage. And Spencer Gallagher now getting the push from Todd Gilliland to the front.
NASCAR's watching this closely from our cameras and every angle they can to make sure that Gilliland wasn't locked on to the bumper of the 0-2.
We've seen Spencer Gallagher up front for so much of this race here today, Hermie.
Watch that 2 of Gallagher moving around the racetrack. They plan to pit on lap 38. Very interesting to see if he's able to hold his position up front and how, if he has any difficulty getting to pit road under green with 2 to go in this stage.
Well, that's coming up just 2 laps from now. And Michael, you've talked about it throughout the course of the day today, the challenge of pitting under green here at Talladega.
Yeah, there's plenty of room to get to the left, but inevitably somebody just doesn't get the word. We talked to the NASCAR officials about it, and they said they were going to speak to the spotters and mention it in the drivers' meeting. We'll have to see if it all pays off.
Well, the hard thing is in these trucks is it's hard to get your hand out the window. And a lot of times as a driver, you'll stick your hand out the window to wave to the guys behind you to let you know. And then it's also hard to stick it up high enough to where the seats so you can see it in the back window, and the spoiler's so tall. So communication really comes through the spotters. And you know, as a driver, sometimes you've got spotting going on that requires something besides the message that didn't get delivered, and it causes havoc when you come to pit road.
Riding with Noah Gragson, one of our championship contenders, but currently sits back in the 18th spot.
Sounds like the popular decision. Report from Phil is the guys start peeling off now.
And here they come. And executed it cleanly. Timothy Peters there in the 25. There's the 2 of Gallagher, Hermie.
It's going to be right side tires and fuel for the 2. Well, Spencer Gallagher did a really good job of getting down on the apron and down to pit road and not causing any issues. They are doing this to have track position. Again, when the field goes back to green, the 98 of Grant Enfinger, he had already dropped back from the front to about mid-pack before coming to pit road. It's going to be no changes, left side tires and fuel for Enfinger.
You see there on the right-hand side of the screen some contact, the 12 of Tanner Thorson. I believe that was the 16 of Brett Moffitt that had damage.
It is. Moffitt, you see, slow on the track. We're going to stay green.
Bring it to me.
Moffitt, the first driver outside the cut line in the playoff standings, as Todd Gilliland brings the front pack to the line. 1 lap remaining here in stage 2, and look at that damage to the right front of one of our championship hopefuls, Brett Moffitt, 4-time winner this season. Hermie's waiting on him.
Vince, the 16 came into this race with an 8-point cushion only to advance to the next round. You can see him up on the right side, a lot of damage on the right front, a critical part aerodynamically of this truck. Obviously right side tires, but a lot of time will be spent on the right front of this truck trying to fix this damage, but it was contact with the 12 that caused the problems for the 16.
Well, and Hermie reported just a moment ago on the 2 of Spencer Gallagher, who's led the most laps today on his pit stop. They've got an uncontrolled tire penalty as the green and white checkers fly, and Todd Gilliland has won stage 2. Gilliland, the 18-year-old. Wow. Hold your breath. Some contact at Talladega. Nail-biting time. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series racing on Fox is sponsored by Camping World, America's #1 RV retailer since 1966. Visit a Camping World Supercenter today.
The 24 of Justin Haley comes down pit road to go into the right side of that truck. It'll be fuel, no changes for the 24. The 52 of Friesen up on the right side. Truck's a little free, has no stage points so far. They've got to get going here in this final stage. Caitlin.
Ben Rhodes on the left-hand corner of your screen putting left side tires on. You see one of the mechanics putting some bare bond on that left hood because the hood was flapping a little bit, but the hood pin had not come out, so they're trying to fix that. Matt Crafton was elected to do 4 tires for that 88 machine. His spotter saying that his lines were really good.
Well, if you were going to take 4 tires, this was probably the place to do it at the end of the second stage. You see continuing to repair that 24. Some front end damage on the right side.
Let's see if we can get a word with Matt Crafton. The strategy seems to be working well. Matt Crafton, it's Harvick and Waltrip and Vince up in the booth. Do you copy?
Clear, loud and clear.
We talked to Junior before the race, and he said, our plan is hug that yellow line for a while. You've done a masterful job of not taking the bait, hopping up on the outside, and it's paid off. Great job so far. How's your truck driving?
Drives real good. I probably got to put a left side splitter on this thing because I left it on exit or entry, and it's driving good. Just got to be there at the end and see if we have a dog to fight.
Well, I love the plan and how you're following it. Have fun, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Downstairs to Phil Parsons with the crew chief of Johnny Sauter.
Yeah, we're pretty happy, crew chief, right now. Joe and I just asked each other a few moments ago if that clinched your spot in the playoffs. Neither one of us knew, but we do have confirmation now that you guys are on to the second round. How about that, Joe?
That means we can go racing now. Yeah, it's exciting. GMS, we always come here to these super speedways, and we have great equipment, and we do have one of the best drivers and one of the best spotters here. And this is nerve-wracking, but with people like that around us, and that, it makes my job a little bit easier. But it's exciting for the fans, and now it's time to go racing. Let's see what we got.
Joe, it did take you 10 laps to go from the back to the lead.
Yes. That's 8 more than I wanted, but anyways, I'm a little greedy. But anyways, now we got to survive. We can go racing and see what we can win this thing. Winning is always great.
All right, Joe, congratulations.
What do you mean we're going to go racing now? We went from the back to the front in 10 laps.
They've been racing the whole time. Over the wall too soon penalty for that 52 of Friesen. Another tough break for one of our championship contenders. Getting ready for the final stage at Talladega. I want to remind you that you can all help those affected by Hurricane Michael. We encourage you to donate today by going to redcross.org or text Michael to 90999 to give $10 to American Red Cross Hurricane Relief.
Check out that truck. The team, without a sponsor this weekend, put the Red Cross's message on their truck, helping out those so devastatingly hurt by the hurricane. And thank you, Shiggy Hattori and that group, for spreading the word.
Well, there's nobody that does it better, Mike. This garage right here gives more and supports each other more from a charity standpoint than any other sport that I've ever seen or heard. The drivers and the teams and NASCAR in itself, they just do a great job when it comes to a situation like this.
By the way, Moffitt has gone a lap down because of that damage and having to come in and repair it. As you look at the points that have been earned today, Johnny Sauter has clinched a spot into the round of 6, so he's secured his position with the points that he has earned today. Still Ben Rhodes and Stuart Friesen on the outside looking in regards to the playoff standings. The final stage getting ready to get underway with Grant Infinger on the inside and two-time Talladega winner Timothy Peters outside.
It looks like Don Hunter might have just made contact.
One back, one both lanes, half both lanes, half on the high side, one on the bottom, half on the high side.
Don't have anything going on the bottom yet, on the top yet with us. Inside only, 4's in your still locked together up top of us. Nothing ahead of that 98, stay up tight here, try to give him another push ahead of that 25. Middle, you're still middle, you got help. Just outside now, outside only, inside. One up. That's good quality in front of you there. 21, 88. Good guys to be around here. Go.
The first lap under green here in the final stage, and they're still side by side. Infinger and Timothy Peters. Infinger won this race 2 years ago. Peters has won it twice before, back-to-back in 2014 and 15. Oh, contact. Banging doors at 190 mile an hour and still keeping the gas on the floor. Match it and go.
And also trying to process all that information from the spotters, Kevin. I don't know what you like out there, but that was a little bit excessive for me. How does that work in your brain?
Well, you have to be able to process a lot here in the driver's seat. Right here, you just see that the inside truck was coming up, and Timothy Peters was coming down in the 25, and it got him sideways and slammed doors with Infinger. But I don't see any smoke out of either of them, so they might have gotten lucky.
John Hunter Nemechek was the first one to make contact with Peters.
Yeah, he was just, it looked like he came off the bottom just a little bit, and Peters was coming down.
Right.
Wow, this is so close. Turns him sideways and luckily bounced off that other truck, and it kept him going in the right direction.
Remember, we talked about Parker Kligerman, how aggressive he was last year, went to victory lane. I believe he got in the back of Timothy Peters, and that's what turned him sideways, guys.
Well, that's one thing I don't like about just kind of taking the first part of the race, Michael. You've been involved in this enough to know you're learning every lap. You're learning how hard you can push, who you can push, where you can push, and you're in a rhythm. And the further you go into the race, the more of a rhythm that you get into and the better you can do things. And Parker, you know, he's been in the race, but he hasn't been pushing and shoving like he is now.
On that inside line, Grant Enfinger in the 98, the black 8 of John Hunter Nemechek, and then that third truck in line there on the inside, the 02 of Austin Hill. He's led 7 laps. He's from just 75 miles away, Winston, Georgia. And our first caution of the day for the 12 of Tanner Thorson.
There's the break Brett Moffitt needed to get right back into the championship battle. He was the first trucko lap down.
So, and that's really where you saw the experience of that crew chief.
Tear the quarter off of it.
That's where you saw the experience of Brett Moffitt's crew chief, Scott Zipadelli. Just come in here and let's fix it. Let's take our lumps now. Let's go as few laps down as possible, and let's just meet minimum speed, get our lap back, and then we'll worry about how fast the truck's going. So they did a great job, and looks like they still might have a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, I'm sure now that they're back in the game, they'll come in and tweak on it. Make some more adjustments. He's going to have to start in the rear anyway, but this is what that team needed.
So we can see the issue there for Thorson.
Like he might have blown a tire. It's hard to say. He was
good job keeping it off the wall. Former star from the USAC ranks, has run 6 races this season before today's event here at Talladega.
Yeah, it's hard to tell right there, but you know that has all the signs of a left rear tire going down. You see some damage on the left side of the truck, so it might have had a little cut in it or something and just turned him around there.
That's painful there, just creeping your way back to the pit, because if they get tires on that thing, he could be like Moffitt, get right back in the game.
You look at the points in the playoff standings as they run. Ben Rhodes has finally got on the right side of the cutoff line. Moffitt and Friesen still with work to do. A great day at the racetrack, and we are at a very special racetrack. Not just any track, it's Talladega, and it has been a nail biter throughout the course of this race. Still haven't had the big one, but we've been close a couple of times, and we've got 44 to go. We're in the final stage here in this playoff cutoff race. Hermie?
Vince, 2 championship contenders on pit road. Under this caution, the 16 of Brett Moffitt, obviously a good break for them. They are now back on the lead lap. They repaired some more of the damage on the right front of this truck. They put tires on. They also set the toe of the 16. You see the crew chief, that's Scott Zipadelli. They used a bunch of bear bond tape to try to hold together this truck and keep their opportunity for a championship alive. Also, you see the 52 of Stuart Friesen. He was back on pit road last lap. They topped him off with fuel. Now they're back under the hood of the 52. We'll get more information on Friesen as he tries to advance to the round of 6, Caitlin.
Well, Hermie, Eddie Traconis is the crew chief for Ben Rhodes, currently shown above the cut line. What is the approach to maintain that in this last stage?
Well, I mean, we're keeping our driver calm. That's the most of all, you know. The 16, you know, they just got back in the lead lap. They have a little bit of damage, but they're going to try to come back, you know. At the end of the day, we just have to race our race, stay up front, trying to get more positions and see what it ended at the end. You know, hopefully the play of Mustache gives us a little bit of luck, you know, and these Ford F-150, you know, is doing pretty good. So hopefully Ben can make it done. I would love to kind of like make it to the next round and show what we got.
Thank you for your time. Vince?
Keeping the driver calm. Now that's a difficult situation.
Well,
how do you do that?
It's very difficult here. And, you know, I think as you look at the nerves of racing for a championship and trying to survive a round of the playoffs that hasn't gone well for you, being on the outside looking in, you know, that's a big task and a lot of pressure. You know, people don't realize the pressure that comes with, you know, all the sponsorship and teams and everything that you have to try to put together on a day like this to advance.
You know, we saw the contact from John Hunter, and it sent Timothy Peters into the inside, and there's some damage to that left front fender. We'll have to keep our eye on that. The left front's an area of the truck that's really critical, and if it rubs that tire, it could cause issues.
That's Peters in the 25, currently lining up in the 6th spot.
That's crew chief Jerry Baxter. Must have saw our coverage and said it looks all good to him. We'll see.
What do you think about Eddie Traconis' mustache there?
I think it's spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only maybe outdone by Brett Moffitt's playoff.
He said he was hoping it was going to bring him luck. I mean, you're really stretching. You're going for anything you can when it's a mustache bringing you luck.
Vince, you said it. It's Talladega. We'll try anything, baby.
Matt Crafton in that neon yellow on the inside, going to lead him back to green. Couple of teammates up front. That's Grant Enfinger on the outside of Crafton.
And it was really unorganized there, Mike, and now you see those trucks behind the 98. They got a run on him because he was so far ahead.
On that high line, teammates, the 21 of Johnny Sauter and the 25 of Timothy Peters. And there's Parker Kligerman in the 75 right alongside Enfinger, last year's winner.
And he just didn't quite make it, Vince, into that hole there that closed up really fast as they all started to form back up in the middle.
What a perfect textbook day for Matt Crafton. He's been right where he's wanted to be all day long, got up high, came to the caution, got the lead, and now he's returned to that yellow line where he will remain until the last lap if he possibly can.
Crafton, a two-time series champion. He has not won this year, and he makes no bones about the fact this is not his favorite kind of racing. And he came in today on the playoff bubble, but right now, Crafton leads the race and sits third in the playoff standings.
Well, he's done a masterful job today, whether he likes it or not. But leading the race is way harder than running second, Michael, because you have to block the top line, you have to block the bottom line, and you have to make sure that those blocks are precise, and you got to be looking in your mirror more than you're looking forward, because at some point, that top line he's going to have to fend off.
I think the 21 will get there, but I'm telling you, Kevin, I'd be surprised to see Crafton come up off the bottom 2 block. He might just say, I'm going to bet my stake, my future on this bottom line and run right here.
Well, he's got an experienced pusher behind him as well.
You know, we saw a few moments ago that 52 of Stuart Friesen on pit road with the hood up. What's going on, Hermie?
Vince, Stuart Friesen is in trouble. Obviously, he is a half a lap behind the draft. They came back down pit road, went under the hood. The engine was skipping and popping and now will not come up to speed. They're not sure if it's an electrical issue or potentially dropping a valve, but right now the 52 is just hoping to survive, and they're going to need some help to advance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure just surviving isn't going to do it for Friesen.
No, and I don't think that truck can meet minimum speed for long. It's really off the pace. NASCAR requires you to run within a few percent of a certain speed, and it doesn't look like that truck's going to make it.
Tough break for Stuart Friesen, who has been knocking on the door of victory all season long. Came into this race 8th out of 8 in the playoff standings, and it's currently where he sits, and he's got a bigger problem on his hands now.
Michael, I love what Todd Gilliland has done today. You see him up here on the top lane, leading that in the 4 truck right there, leading the outside lane there. He has gone to the back 5 or 6 times today from this exact position. He's been shuffled all the way to the back of the field, and he's worked himself all the way back to the front every time. And he's just, that's the way you learn. And he's a young kid with not a lot of experience, and he's done a great job today.
It's his first time ever on a super speedway like this. And you said it earlier, Kevin, when you talked about Kligerman. You got to do trial and error. You want to be smart with your trials, but you have to put yourself in many different positions if you're going to learn what it takes to go up front at the end. And that's what Gilliland's done. What an impressive young racer.
Riding with Noah Gregson, who sits 8th on that.
Yeah, Vince, Noah Gregson, only feedback really he's given on the radio is just a little bit tick loose, but talking with Noah before this race, he told me he was pretty apprehensive about it because he said he felt like the super speedways was not a strong suit for him, but he said I placed a really big emphasis on getting good communication down with my spotter, who is Tony Hirschman, the spotter for Kyle Busch on the Cup Series. And Kevin, how critical is that spotter-driver communication at a place like Talladega?
Well, it's very critical, and you have to look backwards more than you look forward. We see the 30 truck here off the pace.
Scott Lagasse Jr.
Looks like he had some damage of some sort, maybe a flat tire. Meanwhile, back in the pack.
Meanwhile, back in the pack, the spotters are still talking more than they do anywhere else. But you know, that is those are your eyes. That's your communication. They're helping you drive as much as you are, and you're not saying a word. You're just listening to the spotter say inside, outside, run coming from the back, run coming from the front, and those are the types of things they have to keep continuously feeding you information. Otherwise, you'll get hung out, and it's hard to take it all in to make it all work.
And you can see, like we suspected, Matt Crafton, he just stayed on the bottom. He lost a couple of spots, but still right up in the top 5, still in contention. He knows there's going to be some comers and goers, and he's committed to that bottom line. Grant Enfinger in that fast number 98 truck that you like so much at the beginning, he's really making a run up top. And that truck behind him, that 47 of Chris Fontaine, what a job he always does on the restrictor plate tracks. And I'm going to tell you, Kevin, I went down and talked to the crew. That truck is 20 years old. They built a chassis for that in 1998. He's trying to take the lead from kids that aren't that old. But he always does a great job on the super speedways, and he's drafted his way to the front in this 20-year-old truck, Phil.
Michael, I think we have to get ready for some possible green flag pit stops. Most of these guys say they can go somewhere between 33, 34 laps. That means around 60 laps, 61. That gets them in their window. They got to make sure that they have enough people to come with. One of the crew chiefs told me right before the race, he said, I think lap 65 it's going to be really busy on pit road. We'll see what happens in the next few.
I would want to come on 64 then. Duck out of that line all by myself. This could be big trouble.
Oh, and there goes Fontaine. Contact and around. Crafton involved, Rhodes involved, Parker Kligerman, John Hunter Nemechek, Bo Lamastus, Johnny Sauter back there. Was it? Disaster for Matt Crafton and Ben Rhodes. A couple of championship hopefuls, and look at the debris. It started at the front with that truck, Fontaine. A little bit of contact got him sideways. And for Junior Joyner, not what he wants to see. His 88 truck crumpled.
But I tell you, Vince, I think, there's Parker Kligerman out. Obviously a huge hit for Parker. He lays down on the track. They're tending to Chris Fontaine in that 47 truck. Kevin, I think the stage racing, the job that Crafton had done to this point, is going to make him safe to the next round as his race obviously will end.
Yeah, and that's why you have to race so hard in those early stages, because you don't want to leave it, you know, to risk at the end of these races, because stuff like this is going to continue to happen as we go throughout the day. We see the 41 truck of Ben Rhodes. It'll just depend on how much damage they can get fixed within the damaged vehicle policy time limit.
There's the 21 of Sauter, who'd already clinched a playoff spot earlier today. We've now gone from yellow to red, so teams will not be able to work on their vehicles under the red flag. It's good to see Matt Crafton get out of his truck, but Stuart Friesen, who's had so many issues today, was able to avoid all the contact.
I don't know, maybe they can get to pit road and work on that engine, see if they can pick up some speed.
Brett Moffitt, another one of our championship hopefuls, who has had some issues today, as you can see with that damage, able to avoid that mess as well. It had been such a great day for Matt Crafton. He'd stayed on that bottom line and made his way from the back to the front, but his day is done. Let's see how it all developed. Watch the 47 of Fontaine.
I think this is where it starts. He's up high and goes to the bottom, and Haley was there.
Oh. Watch this 75 truck, Michael. I mean, he's in the wreck right here, and he comes down the racetrack and
no brakes, obviously.
Hit again.
Oh.
And those are the ones that they all hurt. But when you start getting hit a second and third time, that's when it really starts to catch you off guard.
Fontaine to the middle of the track, and Haley was already committed there. There's just nowhere that Haley could have gone. Bam.
double-figure trucks involved in this one.
You can see both Haley trying to get lower and Fontaine lower. And the result was carnage.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, you saw the 47 truck come down right there to block. Haley had already committed to, you know, and was way lower. And, you know, from where the spotters are, that's a really tough angle to tell the driver, you know, you're clear, you're clear, you're clear. And it'd be interesting to hear his radio as to what his spotter was telling him at that particular time.
Well, we had been talking earlier about it seemed like we were so close to having the big one, but everyone had been able to keep it gathered up. Not this time. 10 different trucks involved. Watch out the back of the 98 of Enfinger, who was leading at the time.
Both of you clear. You're clear now. He's not. Crash behind you, crash behind you. Just roll on through here. The entire field's in it.
Big hit for Crafton.
Look at Todd Gilliland slipping through, and Myatt Snyder. Good job by those guys. Austin Hill. But unbelievable contact.
From the view of Noah Gregson.
Back it down, back it down, back it down. They're going to hit it. They're going to come back to the flag. Get on the apron, 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 apron. Clear, lower, get lower. All right, keep coming through here.
I love the job Gregson did there. He went to the apron. There's room down there, and he used it.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you're running on the top, you don't have any options like that. And you know, like you say, he did a great job, and his spotter was immediately telling him, get low, get low, get lower.
Tony Hirschman, the spotter for Noah Gregson. So spots for Kyle Busch in the Cup Series. There's the damage to that truck of Johnny Sauter. Fortunately for Sauter, he had already accrued enough points today to be able to clinch a playoff spot. There's the list of drivers involved in the accident. Sauter, Haley, both had already clinched playoff spots. Ben Rhodes and Matt Crafton not so fortunate.
There's the Chris Fontaine truck. You see they've gotten him out and pulling the truck off. Sure, he'll go to the infield care center and be checked out with all the drivers that are involved in the crash.
About the 41 of Rhodes and the 21 of Sauter. Caitlin?
Well, before that red flag came out, the teams were able to work on that 41 machine a little bit. They had the saws out trying to provide clearance for those tires to repair the body, but they were also taking pictures of the right side of the truck and bringing them back over to crew chief Eddie Tricona so he could take a look and see exactly what was happening on the right side. Also for the 21 of Johnny Sauter, another playoff contender, a lot of body damage for them as well, but these crews still not allowed to work on these trucks right now under red.
There's nothing they can do to the 21, is there, Kevin?
No, I think the 21's done. You know, I think that the 41, I mean, his playoff hopes are going to come down to how they fix this truck. And the first thing that's going to happen from a race team standpoint is you have to meet the damaged vehicle policy. So their main priority at this point is to make sure the tires don't go flat. Get back on the racetrack and meet minimum speed and wait for the next caution.
And you get a break at Talladega with meeting the minimum speed, because if you can just hang on the back of the draft, that'll get you there. And then the fate of Matt Crafton, it could depend on what kind of job Rhodes does on the repair, and also how much engine's left in the 52 of Stuart Friesen. Can he pass enough trucks to get up there and displace Crafton from the spot he's currently on the bubble, 15 points ahead? But does he have enough engine in it to finish the race?
Well, you just never know how it's going to turn here. 16 truck probably thought his championship hopes and day was done. Next thing you know, you have a huge crash. He misses it. They're back on the lead lap and on the good side of the point standing. So you just never know, and you just have to constantly keep adjusting to the situation, fixing your truck. You know, keeping a positive attitude from a driver's standpoint to say, okay, reset here. Let's get ourselves back in the game. What's the scenario? Here's what we need to do. And now it's not always about winning and losing. Sometimes it's just about surviving, and especially here at Talladega, it's a survival game.
You know, that's one of the challenges you're going to have here at Talladega. Just look back to last year and what happened. Similar situation with the a big accident, who got through and who didn't, and that ended up being key in who went on and fought for the championship.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe with an engine problem earlier. You'd seen Ben Rhodes with issues with his truck being involved in a crash, and it looked like there was no way. There's Fontaine spinning again. There was no way John Hunter Nemechek was going to be able to make the next round because of the big crash by Kaz Gralla there. But just watch all the things that develop as guys just get crashed. That was Nemechek in the pink truck. He was into the outside wall. Matt Crafton with heavy damage.
There you go. Needed a bigger hammer.
Yeah, that'll do it. And then on the last lap, look at this mess. And somehow sneaking through all that was John Hunter Nemechek, and he got through.
And that allowed him to move on to the next round of the playoffs. And, well, of course, Nemechek not running for the Truck Series Championship this year, but the driver of that truck was Matt Crafton. And Crafton was having such a strong day. But his day's done. Truck towed to the garage, and right now, all eyes on Eddie Traconis. That's Traconis, the crew chief for the 41 of Ben Rhodes.
And
Winner earlier this season at Kentucky.
You know what I like about this, Vince? He's down there and he's in charge. He's on the radio. He's pointing fingers. He's telling everybody what to do. He's off the pit box, and that's when you know things are serious. Is when the crew chief gets off the pit box and he's starting to take control, and that's what Eddie's doing right here. And he has to, because this has to be right.
And he's a hands-on guy. He can get in there and fix it himself, but he knows there's guys trained specifically to fix damage on a truck. They have a plan in place, and as soon as NASCAR lifts the red flag, they'll get all over that truck.
And the advantage here is the fact that they have the red flag. They can make sure all their sawzalls have blades on them. They can make sure they don't need a bigger saw. They can make sure they don't need a block to put under the splitter. Whatever they need, they're going to have sitting on the wall. They're going to have Bear Bond, the tape that holds the seams and pieces together when you have a situation like this, because you can't have extra body parts to come out and put on the truck anymore. You have to use what you have, and you can use some tape too.
And that was great information that Caitlin brought us earlier in regards to this 41 and how they anticipated that the red was coming, so they went ahead and took pictures of the damage on that right front, so then they could put together a plan. They could get a little better view of some of the things that were wrong with that truck to develop a plan on what to repair once we go back to yellow.
It looks like they're all getting in position to pounce too as soon as NASCAR gives them the go-ahead.
Again, Johnny Sauter's already clinched a spot with points earned during the day, so
I'd park that one.
No, that's done.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gaining any playoff points. I mean, there's really no reason for him to keep going. You can just cut your losses and move on there. But this one, 41 of Ben Rhodes, this is for his championship life.
As it sits right now, Rhodes and Friesen are outside the cut line. And there are those in yellow are playoff drivers, championship contenders who were involved in that accident. Let's go downstairs.
First one release is Matt Crafton. First of all, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. That was a lick for sure, but that's Talladega. I mean, that's what we race here for the wild wrecks and the crazy finishes. But all in all, I mean, we had great two first segments and then got hooked in the right rear on that one. I honestly don't know what happened, so. Oh, yeah, so close, but so far. That's been my luck at the super speedways. Or 2 years ago in Daytona, I thought I was going to win the race, and next thing I knew, I was upside down. But that's how it goes.
We'll see what the fate is for Matt Crafton. Good points in the first two stages, but out after this big wreck in the last stage.
Yeah, 16 stage points today for Crafton could be huge for him as we look at how this shakes out and maybe advancing to the next round, the round of 6.
Crafton comes out of the infield care center, does all the media and interviews, and now he'll go sit in his hauler and wait and watch and hope that he can get enough points to move on to the next round.
Still under red here at Talladega, 35 to go, the final stage of this race. Grant Enfinger is the leader. Spencer Gallagher also involved in that incident. Gallagher has led the most laps in this race, but he's done for the day, Phil.
Spencer had a fast truck here. What did you see from your vantage point?
Man, it's a damn shame for this GMS crew. I think we had hands down the fastest truck in the field today. I was able to go wherever I wanted to, whenever I wanted to, go from the back to, contending for the lead pretty much on command. But as you guys see there, just a guy running up in a position that he probably doesn't have the pace to keep, gets turned, and unfortunately it cost us a great day. And I'm mad about it right now. That was this two teams' race to win, and I just got to apologize to the guys that we weren't able to pull this off. It kills me right now. It kills me.
Glad you're okay, buddy.
Thank you.
We've transitioned from red to yellow. An 11-minute, 42-second red flag. 10 involved in the big one at Talladega. Back at Talladega, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, the final race in round one of the playoffs. The 98 of Grant Enfinger was leading this race, but has been penalized, and this is why. Watch the gas man. Enfinger takes off. They don't have the can out. And taking that equipment out of the pit box is a penalty. Not the first time in the playoffs for Enfinger and that gas can. It happened also at Canada. Remember, in the opening race of the playoffs? And that was a big reason why Enfinger had to settle for a 17th place finish in that first round. Fortunately for Enfinger, he won the next race at Las Vegas and earned a guaranteed spot into the next round of the playoffs. But so this race not as critical for Enfinger. Let's back downstairs to Hermie.
Well, Vince, John, Hunter Nemechek out of the Care Center. You said you were not in the middle of all of the destruction, but what did you see and what ended up putting you out?
Yeah, I haven't seen a replay. I don't know exactly what happened. I know that looks like the 24 tried splitting the 27 and turned them. Just kind of unnecessary right now. Everyone was in line pushing each other, and they wrecked up top. I was able to make it to the bottom, and I think it was the 75 on my outside. His left rear quarter touched my right front, kind of sent me spinning, slid, didn't touch anything, and then the 75 came down and pretty much cleaned the rear bumper off of it and took the spoiler off of it, so we couldn't continue. The front end was still good. I thought that we were going to be able to make it through and continue, but with no spoiler, NASCAR won't let you back out. So definitely stinks for all of our guys. We started at the back. Can't say thank you enough to Fleet Wing and our Nimco Motorsports guys. Who knows what's going to happen now?
Vince?
That's for sure. You never know what's going to happen at Talladega. Coming back with about 30 to go in the cutoff race. Getting ready to come back green at Talladega. The 10 of Joe Cobb on the front row for this restart on the inside, and 18-year-old Todd Gilliland on the outside. After a lengthy red flag, we're back to racing at Talladega.
That's a father and son combination there on the outside. The Gillilands taking the lead away from Joe. Looks like that was Austin Hill that went off the road to pass Cobb.
Remember, you're not supposed to go below the yellow line and advance your position. Keep an eye on that.
And how cool is that got to be for David Gilliland to be able to push his son like that to the lead at Talladega and just be able to be out there racing with him. And I promise you, there is nothing more than that father running second right now would love to do than to push his son to the first win.
Can you imagine if that was Keelan up ahead of you, Kevin, pushing your son out there to the front? I talked to David Gilliland yesterday, and he said, it's just such an honor to be able to share the Speedway with my son in his first ever Super Speedway race. Now they're leading.
And just as we suspected, the 0-2 of Austin Hill will be penalized for going below the yellow line to advance his position. And you see that on the right-hand side of the screen.
And that's an easy call for NASCAR. There has to be boundaries at this particular racetrack. And the yellow line, if you advance your position and with anything below it, you're going to get black flag.
Hill is currently third in line, but he's going to have to jump out. Up front, 18-year-old Todd Gilliland. Second place, his dad, David Gilliland. Timothy Peters runs fourth in that pink and white truck. Myatt Snyder, the orange and white. Right behind Peters, as you see Hill get out of line to serve that penalty.
Now Hill just needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. He's still got time. There's going to be more action in this race, I promise you. He can get back in this thing.
And looking at Todd Gillen and David Gillen, you guys were talking about the father-son duo. I actually had a chance to talk with both of them, and Todd was telling me you did watch a lot of film with his dad leading into this event because it's his first time here in a truck trying to learn the best he can. But Todd's saying, it was all fun and games, so my dad beat me for the pole position, and now I definitely want to beat him for the win.
And they're both sponsored by Pedigree, and it's only fitting that Todd would have Puppy on the hood of his truck. Well, Dad is carrying the colors of the older dog's food. Yeah, the puppy food is on the hood of Todd Gilliland.
The one thing that happens when we have a big accident like that, Michael, and especially when you have a lot of good trucks in it, the energy becomes a little bit less. So in my opinion, I think the outside lane is going to be a little bit harder to get going. They can still do it, but it's going to be a little bit harder to make it happen because you've got less trucks.
Yeah, there's just less strong trucks, less players. Corbin Forrester currently running inside the top 5. Brian Duzo is right there in 6th. And then Jen Joe, she's rallied to 8th, but they just don't have the speed to jump out in that outside line and make it work.
Brett Moffitt has gotten back into the mix despite all the damage on that 16 truck. Moffitt runs 7th. Phil Parsons with Chris Fontaine, who was involved in that accident.
Chris, you had such a great run and going up in the top 3 there. Tell us what happened.
I was just pushing the 98 to the lead. I really thought we both had the bottom cleared, and I hate it for everybody and every other shop that gave me such a great truck. I didn't qualify that well, but I was able to push myself to the front, and that was a pretty hard hit. That one hurt.
That was a 20-year-old chassis. We're going to be able to save it?
I don't think that one's coming back.
All right, buddy. Good run today. Glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Most important part is we saved Chris from further injury, because he's right. That was a terrible pounding he took.
How about the 52 of Stuart Friesen, Hermie, back there on that outside line?
Vince, I just spoke to the crew chief, Trip Bruce. They changed the ECU unit on this 52, but they do not feel like they've got the engine completely fixed. He believes it's got something to do in the drivetrain of the engine, valve, cam, something like that. Right now, they are just hoping and praying that they can make it to the end.
Well, the 18 of Noah Gregson is going by Friesen right there. He had a great onboard look of it. Gregson, the only one of our championship hopefuls, the only playoff driver that has not had an issue today. And right now, Gregson trying to work his way inside the top 10, but sits 14th, Mike.
Yeah, another guy with some serious issues. We saw Ben Rhodes involved in that crash, and he's got enough speed to keep up with the pack, which is huge for him. That bubble, that cutoff line, it's just going to be intense. You can see Crafton's watching every lap. One crash, Kevin Harvick, it changes the whole scenario.
Absolutely, and I kind of disagree a little bit with the crew chief, because his truck was way off. Stuart Friesen in the 52 truck was way off, and now he's able to drive up into that pack. You see the 41 truck, they've done a great job of meeting minimum speed, no tire rubs, and giving themselves a chance. So, like you say, one caution, one crash, anything can happen at this point.
Friesen currently finds himself 14 points outside the playoff line, with Ben Rhodes 8 points out. Crafton sits on that bubble. 25 to go at Talladega. Don't go anywhere. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series racing on Fox is sponsored by Camping World, America's #1 RV retailer since 1966. Visit a Camping World Supercenter today. Grant Enfinger leads at Talladega with Justin Haley right behind him in the second spot. And remember, Enfinger was just penalized for carrying that fuel can out of his box on that last pit stop. He has some real speed in that 98.
He has a ton of speed, and I think that's like the second time, maybe the third time he's come back to the front. Here you see Johnny Sauter. They didn't get that body panel off the right front tire apparently, and it blew out pretty much going into turn 1 all the way around the racetrack. And Michael, I just like the way Grant Enfinger races, and he has a ton of experience from the ARCA series. He's obviously been successful here in a truck, and he's kept himself up front all day, and he survived that wreck because he was the leader at that particular time. Got the penalty, drove right back to the front, drug the outside line all the way back to the front, and he's just he's got a solid foundation, a lot of experience, and a great team to back him. So it's fun to see a guy like him that works so hard to have success.
Camping World 20 to go in the playoff cutoff race here at Talladega. Enfinger and Justin Haley, the winners of the first 2 races here in the first round, are running 1-2. Let's go to Phil Parsons.
Parker, we saw some pretty hard hits from you. Glad you're okay, first of all. Tell us what happened.
Thank you. First of all, I saw a couple guys spin, get together, and you know what? We were racing really hard, and I know some people may have been upset about that. I was talking to some drivers in there, but I'm glad because that's what the fans come out here to see, is for us to be 2 and 3 wide, at this racetrack. And so I was enjoying it. I think we just couldn't get anyone to work with us. And then I don't usually like to go before I've seen a big wreck, but I just felt like I couldn't get anyone to work with me, so I had to try something and was trying to move up and could get to the front, but couldn't get any help. But we had blue email on board, so I'm definitely going to use some of that lidocaine on my bruise down here. I bruised my knees really bad, so but overall I'm fine. And thanks to Henderson Motorsports for building a safe truck and NASCAR and all they do. And hey, look, I'm just glad we were 2 and 3 wide. We weren't riding around single file. I hate when we do that, and I'm for the fans that come out here and the fans wasn't meant to be. I hope they get a good end of the show.
Gave it a good ride. We're glad you're okay.
What's that?
You gave it a good ride. We're glad you're okay.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Good perspective. Interesting perspective there from Parker Kligerman. And the fans certainly like to see it when they're 2 and 3 wide, that's for sure. And Parker had a couple of big hits in that accident, so glad to see him that he is indeed okay.
Well, for most of the day, Mike, I mean, everybody's done a great job, and they've been very aggressive from the start of the green flag. Right now, you're seeing single file on the bottom of the racetrack, mainly because there's 12, 15 trucks that are not in the pack that were in the race when we started. So it's a different energy that you have in the pack, and you've got some of them that are still tore up.
Yeah, and we're inside our Camping World 20 to go, and that means these guys are really trying to figure out how to position themselves to win this race. So if they could make a move, they're going to need some help. They're going to need guys to line up with them, and right now that's hard to find.
Grant Enfinger from Alabama. This is his home state, his home track. Won here a couple of years ago, and now he is out front, 33 years old, and the teenager, 19-year-old Justin Haley right behind you.
And Kevin, you were talking about how much you like Enfinger. We watched this truck just get faster and faster all year long. I thought of him as a top 5 guy, not really a race-winning speed guy. When he took the checkered at Vegas, he held off Johnny Sauter. He was by far the class of the field, and now that momentum from Vegas is carried on. You see him performing the same way here at Talladega.
At Las Vegas, I'm sorry, Mike, you could just see the confidence oozing out of him and the way that he drove that truck and the things that he did in the truck. And I think that bleeds over to the team and the things that they do. And I think you're seeing that again here today, don't you?
I love
it. Less than 20 to go at Talladega. Grant Enfinger continues to lead the way. Back here at Talladega, 14 laps remaining in the cutoff race here in round 1 of the playoffs. That's Brett Moffitt coming back onto the racing surface after having to come to pit road with a flat right front, or right rear.
He almost crashed this truck, Vince. Great job by Moffitt and Timothy Peters behind him in the 25. As you see the tire go, Peters reacts well.
Such a vulnerable position. That could have stacked him up. Created another incident. 41 of Ben Rhodes came and got a splash of fuel. Make sure he can get to the end.
Probably had trouble fueling that truck when they were in for their damage repair. He's still in a very vulnerable position. Finds himself 7 points below the cut line as Matt Crafton sits somewhere in the infield watching every lap of this race, wondering if he advances.
Our Ford facts. 3 of the last 7. Grant Enfinger, Chase Briscoe, Ben Rhodes. Of course, Rhodes and Briscoe, or Rhodes and Enfinger still in this one. And Enfinger is out front again after winning the last race at Las Vegas. Ford has won here at Talladega just once. It was the first race run here back in 2006. Mark Martin took it to victory lane. Oh, contact, and around goes Todd Gilliland.
Hold your brake there. You okay, Todd?
And a big hit for the 4. Was running second.
Just let them come get you. It's done.
Crew Chief Marcus Richmond. Gilliland had led 13 laps. Out front, thought maybe he'd have a shot at winning this thing, and I think he did until that.
Yeah, he and his dad had come from the back and charged up into second and third position. It looked like maybe a little bit of contact into the back of Enfinger exiting the corner. Maybe Enfinger bounced up the hill a little bit. We'll have to see on the replay. Glad to see that Todd's okay.
So Todd Gilliland seeking his first career win. Not going to happen today. Watch what happened.
There's the bump. Trying to get to the inside.
Yeah, and a lot of times what happens right there, you know, you saw him get the 98 truck up, and as he came up and hit him with the right front, it just takes, you just lose control of your truck, and it shoots it to the left. So he got in the back bumper of him, and that's what we were talking about earlier. When you're offset to the left like that, it makes that truck in front of you loose when you get into the left rear quarter panel. And then he got under him, and Enfinger just came down and hit that right front and just shot it to the left. Man, that's a big hit.
A lot of times, Kevin, we watch these wrecks, and having done this for 100 years, you say that was definitely one driver or the other's fault. But that just looked almost like hard racing for the lead. Look how much that truck crumbles in the front. The wall moves. The safer barrier does its job.
Yeah, and I think that situation right there is I think Todd just, you know, trying to get up there and bump draft on the 98 truck of Enfinger. It's like he was trying to hit him, but like you can't be offset to the left right there. And as you come up off the corner, you just want to be able to get right on that back bumper and push him forward. But that is a big hit, and thank goodness those safer barriers are there.
Watch it from the view of Enfinger out the back.
Half out back.
I mean, Todd with the bump draft, it went a little bit wrong for Grant Enfinger, but he was able to correct his truck to the left, and it just knocked Gilliland into the inside wall.
Caution is out for the accident involving the 4 truck of Todd Gilliland. Grant Enfinger continues to lead, less than 10 to go. Major League Baseball continues. Coming up next, Game 2 of the National League Championship Series. About the Dodgers and the Brewers. Wow, what a great game last night, huh? Brewers holding on to win that one. Game 2 coming up next on Fox. You can also see it on the Fox Sports app. Well, we're getting down to the nail-biting time here at Talladega. I think we've been biting our nails for a couple of hours.
Yeah, since they threw the green flag. This is intense, and this truck here, he's got engine issues, just hanging on to his playoff life right now.
Guys, Friesen was just on pit road with the 52 truck. They changed all the plug wires, but I talked to one of the engineers from Ilmore, the people that build these engines, and they said they feel like maybe they have a broken rocker arm, so they're not thinking that they have it fixed.
Well, they're running out of time. You see our points there on the left-hand side of the screen, and Friesen 15 out of advancing to the next round.
But Ben Rhodes is creeping ever closer. He got it to within 5 points of Crafton now.
Johnny Sauter's out of the race. He's already clinched a spot to the next round. Matt Crafton is out of the race, and he sits on the bubble.
And basically, Vince, one more accident that Ben Rhodes doesn't get in, that'll be the difference of him passing Matt Crafton or not. Crafton needs to see it clean and green to the checkered. Rhodes could use an accident.
Yeah, because at this point, you know, you've got Ben Rhodes and Brett Moffitt that are a lap down. They're battling for the lucky dog, so it's going to take, if he's not in front of Moffitt, which I don't know, with as many pieces as he's missing, I think he's at a deficit to Moffitt speed-wise. So it's going to take an accident in order to probably make up those 5 points.
How about that 33 truck, the white one there of Robbie Lyons? What a great run for Lyons today.
Talking yesterday in the final practice how fast that truck looked, and Robbie Lyons has done a great job behind the wheel, and I love celebrating this top 10 right now. Justin Haley's 4th, Timothy Peters is 5th. Brian Doza in that 28 truck, he's raced his way up inside the top 10.
Yeah, and you look at Myatt Snyder, he's had a great day. Jordan Anderson,
Austin Wayne Self in there in the 22.
Yeah, and then you got Corbin Forrester there in 10th. So that's what Talladega is all about. It's all about giving people an opportunity, and you have accidents, you have all different kinds of things that happen during the day, but the draft is the great equalizer. It allows everybody to keep up, and especially in these trucks, they create such a big hole in the air that the draft is just that much more effective.
Radio communication of the 24 of Justin Haley.
98's going to take the top here, so I told him we'll shove like hell. We've been pretty good together today, so we'll just get going and then sort it out here later.
Just make sure he doesn't top me or anything.
Well, you can't make sure of that.
Yeah, you can't make sure of that. But the other thing that's on the line here for those two guys that know they're going forward in these playoffs, those 5 playoff bonus points. And I look at the points right now from a playoff bonus standpoint. You've got the 98 with 23. You've got the 24 with 14 points of Justin Haley. So playoff points are important.
Guys, I was down in the hauler of talking to Jeff Hensley and Grant Enfinger this morning, and Grant said after we won the race at Las Vegas, Jeff was just as mad as if we'd have finished 10th. And he said, I was walking around mad. I wasn't sure why I was mad, but you know, it's been so long since we've been to victory lane. He said, I promise if we win today, I won't be mad.
This sport is so tough, and when you finally win one, you say, we should have won a lot more than this.
Now they're lined up. Double file for this restart. That's David Gilliland on the inside. Grant Enfinger, the race leader, in the control vehicle on the outside of that 98.
Kevin, what do you think about this decision, the 98 taking the high side?
Well, I think it could go either way, Mike. You know, it's all in how they get formed and who can push well. It seems like the 24 has had a fast truck. You've got Lyons there on the inside, so don't really know how good of a pusher he is, but we're getting ready to find out.
Coming to the line, there will be 6 laps remaining. The final lead change has taken place in the last 2 laps and 9 of the last 10 here at Talladega. So the stage is set as Enfinger takes the green.
What a great push there. He nailed it. He wanted that 24 as a pusher to get him going, and it worked. But look at Lyons working over the back of Gilliland now.
Got to be careful how far he gets out there.
Oh, and around goes Enfinger. Looked like Gilliland got in the backside of the 98.
Hang on to it. No yellow, no yellow.
Green is still out.
Wow, Green is still out. There's damage to the 51 of Gilliland.
Justin Haley in the front.
I don't think that tire will make it.
Timothy Peters in second. Myatt Snyder now comes up, bangs doors with Peters. Snyder in the 13, Noah Gregson right there in the 18, and here comes Brett Moffitt in that damaged 16 on the outside.
David Gilliland's going to lose that right front tire and clean these guys out.
Justin Haley, a 2-time winner this season. Myatt Snyder in second, has yet to win in the Camping World Truck Series, and he's right there in position. Noah Gregson in the best spot he's been all day in third. Too wide behind the top 3. Coming through the tri-oval, and when they cross the line, there will be 4 laps remaining. 4 to go at Talladega.
And Michael, I feel like that Myatt Snyder there in second place in that 13 truck, he has been a very, very aggressive pusher all day. Justin Haley, we've seen him have contact with the tougher trucks. You see the right front torn off him. But that 13 truck has been an extraordinary pusher when he's behind you.
Timothy Peters, the lead truck on the outside.
Matt Crafton just barely above the cut line. Here's a move by Gregson to the high side. Gilliland goes to the bottom. I can't believe that Goodyear tire hasn't blown out, but it's not smoking anymore. I guess it clearanced itself.
Great move by Gregson, caught the energy, and now Noah Gregson in the high line is moving to the front.
Bottom line is falling apart there. You saw the 51 truck of David Gilliland pull out, and the whole bottom line just fell apart.
Ben Rhodes in third. It's Gregson, Peters, and Rhodes. Remember, Rhodes still on the outside of the cut line.
Can they make it 3 laps without wrecking? Where do you want to position yourself coming to the white flag, Kevin? Do you want to be leading or in this gnarling pack?
I want to be leading because that pack, there's a lot of aggressive drivers right there trying to figure out how they can make up ground to get to the front in a hurry.
Noah Gregson has won the most stages this season. He's led the most laps. He's been a dominant truck at times, but he's just won one race. But now he finds himself out front at Talladega.
How important is the draft? Look at that truck in the 3rd spot there. That's Ben Rhodes. He's a lap down, but he's fighting for his playoff life.
Well, and that's very important, Michael. If they do have a caution, he wants to be the lucky dog, and right now he's in that position to be the lucky dog.
2 to go.
One racer and Matt Crafton's on the sidelines praying for no caution. Ben Rhodes needs one.
Rhodes in third. He's the first driver out.
Oh, man.
Friesen off the road. He needs to give that spot up.
Yeah, Rhodes is a lap down, but he's third in line there in that green 41.
Whoa. Gregson was up off the bottom, and Peters almost took advantage of it.
And let's not forget, Michael, Timothy Peters has won races here before. He's very good and very experienced at super speedway racing in the 25 truck.
Noah Gregson trying to keep the pack behind him. Coming to the line and getting the white flag. 1 to go. Justin Haley with a big push from the 51 of David Gilliland. Side by side, Haley and Gregson. Some contact with the 25 of Peters. And Gregson goes around.
And we're wrecking.
And they're wrecking at Talladega.
And Peters was ahead when we saw that caution.
Timothy Peters, a 2-time winner at Talladega. And Noah Gregson sits in disappointment.
Well, I think so.
And Timothy Peters will get his 3rd Talladega win. So disappointing for Noah Gregson. Was in position trying to hold them off. And there's Jerry Baxter. He and Peters working together, a couple of veterans.
Baxter said, we got the fastest truck in Alabama, Michael. I can promise you that, if we can just survive. NASCAR will be looking at the video to make sure when the moment of caution was, who was leading the race, and probably also reviewing how Peters had to go off the track.
Awesome job, man. I'm sorry I let us down on that initial start. Oh my goodness, it feels so good.
Let's just confirm from NASCAR.
Timothy Peters declared the winner in just his 4th race of the season. For so long, a full-timer in the truck series. Lost his full-time ride. And today he gets his 3rd victory at Talladega.
That was incredible.
Some contact there between Peters and the 24 of Justin Haley, and then eventually into the back end of the 18. And Timothy Peters wins for the 11th time in his career.
Had some good momentum to the back of Gregson and just hit him off center, and around went the 18.
And it just doesn't take much, and you could just feel, you know, the energy building as we got there towards those last couple laps, really last 6 or 7 laps there, and these guys just all started pushing and shoving, and you see Peters go up there, and Gregson went to block him. I mean, he was trying to win the race and wound up getting himself crashed, but there's no fault of his. I mean, he was doing what he had to do to try to win, and he had to block.
Watch it for from the onboard of that 18 truck.
24, don't let them split you. Keep it pink. Lane up. Quarter lane up. Keep it pink. Keep it pink. And get it rolling here when we can.
Timothy Peters celebrating his 11th career victory and his 3rd win at Talladega. He won back-to-back 2014 and 15.
He was on the sidelines, Vince. They brought him out and said, we want you to run a race or two for us, and that's the result.
He's always been very good at these super speedway tracks, and you hear it in the results here at Talladega. You know, that's his 3rd time going to victory lane, and he's been there, done that in the truck series. He's got in an unfortunate spot this year with his team shut down, and here he is in victory lane again.
But how cool is it? He's a short track racer from Virginia. He gets his first win at Martinsville, most special place, the smallest track on the circuit. Well, turns out he's pretty good at the biggest track on the circuit too.
I just call him a racer.
Yes, me too. And he came out of hiatus and jumped in that 25 truck for Maury Gallagher, GMS Racing, and he's got the checkered flag. Baxter was wondering about that left front tire. I guess it's okay now.
It's fine.
Still waiting on the official finishing positions of all the drivers involved to confirm the playoff standings and who moves on to the round of 6 and who is eliminated. Timothy Peters, the lug nut check, and he's headed to victory lane.
And the reason why we're waiting, Vince, is that cutoff line, because of the way this race ended up, has gotten very tight. We're unofficially showing Matt Crafton good by 4 points, but just behind him, Ben Rhodes and Stuart Friesen just 6 points back.
Justin Haley in that 24 truck. Boy, what a strong day from Haley, and he's with Caitlin.
Justin's known for a while. He was advancing on to the next round, but what were the closing laps like for you in this race here, Justin?
That was obviously really fun. Fraternal RVs, guys, everyone GMS Fabrication brought a really fast Chevrolet. We finished 5th. We're just trying to put ourselves in position there. Obviously, we're not in the playoffs, so we can be pretty aggressive and you know, make some good moves. So the 51 was pushing me up there, and I thought we were going to get ourselves in a good position, but obviously the 25 turned the 18, and that's what happened. So really doesn't matter to us. We're already locked in. See what the Martinsville brings at the round of 6, but really happy with how this turned out.
Nicely done. Justin Haley leaving Talladega with the top 5. Vince?
Well, and Haley's one of the drivers that, and he won that playoff opener. He's really been the only one that's really been relaxed for the last month or so, because he knew he was going on to the next round when he won at Canada.
It's crazy, Vince. I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, I don't even know why I'm here today, Mike. I'm all set for tomorrow.
In victory lane with Hermie Sadler.
Well, Timothy Peters just getting into victory lane, just pulled up, getting the steering wheel off to hop out. He is now the only Truck Series racer with 3 wins at Talladega. Here he is. Timothy Peters, you are a 3-time winner at Talladega. It all came down to a last lap pass of the 18 crew chief, Jerry Baxter. What a team you guys are making. All came down to a pass on the backstretch. Walk us through what happened.
Thank you, GMS. Mike Beam, Jerry Baxter, this whole 25 bunch. GMS Fab Shop. I mean, you kind of getting lit up on that last lap. I hope everyone's okay. I hate to cause that, but we're going for the win. This is my last ride in the Kingman Chevrolet. Thanks to Allegiant, ISM Connect, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, recognizing a lot of people near and dear to me. Hermie, I don't know what to say, man.
I know all these wins mean a lot and they're all big, but being what you've been through, to be on the sidelines, be back in a truck like this to get back to victory lane, does this one mean maybe a little bit more?
It means a lot. Just thank Mike Bean for giving me that call. And my wife, Sarah, I love you. All the kids back at home. Man, I tell you, a lot of people has helped me get to this point. Barry Nelson, you're one of them. Thank you. And, man, God is good.
Timothy Peters, he is back in victory lane at Talladega.
You heard the voice crack and the emotion of Timothy Peters in his last race of the season to win at Talladega. He led just the final lap here today.
Yeah, and you come to the end of these races, Michael, and I know he feels bad about, you know, turning the 18 there, but the 18 was doing what he had to do to try to block. He was doing what he had to do to stay in the gas and wound up in victory lane. So sometimes they work out like that, and he's a journeyman. Timothy Peters has been there, done that, and wound up back in victory lane.
I just love the emotion, just seeing him fight back tears just to say thank you. Shows you how much this race meant today.
From the biggest track here at Talladega to the smallest track next time, Martinsville will start round 2 on October 27th. For Hermie Sadler, Caitlin Vincey, and Phil Parsons, along with Michael Waltrip, Kevin Harvick, I'm Vince Welch. The cutoff race in round 1 of the playoffs goes to Timothy Peters, the winner at Talladega. Major League Baseball coming up next.